I'm unmuted. Can you hear me? Okay, I am unmuted. Can you hear me? Okay.
Charles. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Spalding County Board of Commissioners regular extraordinary session. It is Monday, October 16th, at 2023 at 6 p.m. Please silence your cell phones and all electronic devices. Take a second right quick and do that. We don't want anybody's presentation interrupted. The number one fear most people have is public speaking, so last thing we want is for somebody's cell phone to go off when they're up here talking. Let's see. I'll do that after these. Now we're going to have an invocation by Charles Reese, our Community Development Director, and then the pledge to the flag by Commissioner Rita Johnson.
May we bow our heads in prayer, please. Father God, we thank you today for new mercies and new grace, new favor. We give you all the glory. We give you all the honor. We thank you in advance, Lord, for just gathering us and what you're about to do in this great community. We want to offer up prayers, Lord, for our leaders, that you give them what they need, Lord, for the tough decisions that they have to make on behalf of the community. The decisions, Lord, for the well-being and the welfare for this great county called Spalding. Give them what they need, Lord, to do what's best for this community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 You would please face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to include a new item number 4 under presentations and proclamations for the Spalding County Public Works Department to present their dashboard.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. All opposed? All right, so amended. And that's the new number 4, right? Sorry that got left off there, TJ. Let's see. We don't have any public hearings this evening. We're going to go into the presentation of financial statements. Consider the approval of financial statements for the 3 months ending September 30th, 2023. Dr. Ledbetter.
At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Erica Dye.
So exciting, Ms. Dye.
Good evening. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions you may have about the financial statements.
Tax bills are going out now, right?
Yes.
We have gone over those with a fine-tooth comb, I think, a few times. Thank you so much. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. All right, we got a motion to second to approve. Any more further discussion? All in favor, say aye. All right. Any opposed? Thank you for coming.
Thank
Stand
you.
approved. All right, presentation and proclamations. First, Kirsten Brown with Spalding County DFACS will update the board on how we are currently servicing the Spalding County community and their building situation. Now, I know that Commissioner Flowers Taylor was the one that was really interested in this, but glad that y'all are here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kirsten Brown. I'm the director with Spalding County Department of Family and Children Services. Just to give a very brief overview of the services we provide services associated with child welfare in the Office of Family Independence, which provides SNAP, food stamps, Medicaid, and TANF. Under the child welfare umbrella, that's where we do our assessments of reports of abuse and neglect, our foster care program when children are deemed unsafe and need to be removed from their home, on through our adoptions program. So those are the services provided under that umbrella in our local county position. I wanted to share with you, because I know there is a major concern right now with us not having a physical location to operate from in Spalding County. That has been a challenge, just in identifying a space for us to be able to operate. We've been without a county office now since May of 2022, when we were notified that we had to leave the building that has been there for quite some time at 411 East Solomon Street. So we were able to pretty much feed off of the plan that had been created during the pandemic, when our lobbies closed for safety issues associated with COVID-19. And we utilized our virtual lobby, which is where constituents were able to go online and process many of the applications and renewals that they used to come to that county office to process. We have a Dropbox location excuse me, at the former police department on Poplar Street, and that's where applications can be retrieved. We have a blue box out there that provides applications for food stamps and all of those services, and then there's a Dropbox there for you to be able to submit those applications back. Our staff report there daily and pick up those applications, take them to our hub space, which is currently in Butts County, and that's where they process those services for our constituents. Right now, there are general assistance lines open, customer service lines, where constituents can call in for assistance with processing through those applications or any questions they have. I know that there are times when that can be tedious, waiting for a response on the phone and waiting to be answered and given some assistance, just because of the volume that we have as far as those services. Right now, for in-person services, we've shared with a lot of our community partners and local agencies that there is a hub space operating in Butts County at the Jackson DFACS office, and they service Spalding County now. That is our hub location. So for in-person services, if that's needed, then you can go to Butts County. Also, Henry County is available, and on that general information sheet, we've shared the time frames that they're available. That was recently updated to add another day on October 1st. So right now, they're open on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 9 to 4 p.m., and the Henry County office is open Monday through Thursday from 9 to 4 p.m. So if in-person assistance, like questions regarding the application process, renewal, dropping off those forms and documents that are needed to process applications, using the kiosk, all of that is available from those offices. I know that that is outside of the county, but until we have a physical location here, those are the in-person spaces available. A lot of our county leaders have been able to communicate with me directly when we have disabled or elderly constituents who need further support and possibly can't get to those counties. So we've been able to reach out to them directly. I'm usually able to put them in contact with a member of leadership in OFI, who then can reach out to their case manager and try to facilitate another plan for them. So right now, that is how we've been servicing. We've leaned to our community partners a lot as far as our child welfare program, in establishing space for us to do parent-child visits, sibling visits. Our law enforcement has been extremely supportive of us. When we have removals late into the night, early morning, we've been able to utilize the police station and kind of be there for a while with our kids until we can find foster care placement for them. So they've been supported. Our school system has been beyond supporting and sharing space with us. The collaborative, there are probably a million agencies that I can name. Griffin Fire and Rescue have all been supportive of us while we've dealt with this issue of not having housing here in the local county. So that is how we're operating right now, and we'll continue to operate until we have a physical location here in Spalding County. I have our board member, Ms. Lacy, here with me, who may want to share. She's our board chair.
Please, Ms. Lacy. Good evening.
Good evening. I am Portia Lacy, and I have lived in this county and city for 46 years. And my relationship with DFAC started back in the 80s when I worked with the county director then, Carol Dingler, selecting qualified students to receive the Agnes B. Hunt Scholarship, which was under the auspices of DFACS at that time. I have been on the board of directors of our local agency since 2006, and I was appointed by this county commission to replace a longtime board member, Mrs. Ciola Head. I was elected board chairman in 2016. It has been my honor and my pleasure, and yes, even my duty as a citizen of this county, to serve this very important county agency. As a state agency, it is the duty of the board members to support DFACS and the staff to ensure that citizens who are marginalized, disabled, fragile, children who are in negative environments receive the necessary survival services. It's our duty to ensure that adults, boys and girls, who have been identified as being endangered, neglected, or who have been recognized in being in less than desirable living conditions, ensure that a positive condition or environment be actualized. Since May of 2022, as Ms. Brown has stated, it has been our deep disappointment that those previously identified have not been able to receive some of the services due to the challenge of driving 17 miles to seek services in another county office. Many of our clients are transportation deficit. Many lack personal technology skills to access the correct link to receive services. So during the waiting period for foster care, children have had to be held in an environment that I would not be considered child-friendly. For the last 24 months, our clients have not had the freedom of walking into a local office to receive appointment services or to receive face-to-face service. They are due the courtesy of privacy. So it is my desire that moving forward and in the near future, provisions will be brought to fruition by this board, City County Commissioner, to ensure that the appropriate physical facility is actualized in a centrally located and safe area. Our citizens who need this service are depending on you to make this happen, and I am too. Thank you so much for listening.
I also have Ms. Jawan Perriman here from DHS Facilities, and that's the part of our agency that works along with State Properties Commission to address the building issue. So I have her here to just provide an update on where we are with that as well.
Please, come forward.
Good evening, board members. I am the Deputy Director of Facilities for the Department of Human Services, of which DFACS is one of our divisions. We want to assure you that we are definitely pursuing finding space for DFACS. Understand the community's concern, especially the board members. But we work under the auspice of the State Properties Commission, and they do have a process which we have tried to work diligently with Spalding County and with the City of Griffin on space issues. We're currently at, I believe it's 868 Poplar Street, which is a former police department building. And I understand it's primarily vacant with the exception of storage of defects, supplies, files, et cetera, at the building. And we have worked on the space planning for that building. The City of Griffin has obtained estimates for repairs of that building. That estimate is around $3 million. And the State Properties Commission has also sent someone out to do an estimate. It's between $3 and $5 million to restore that building. And I understand the City of Griffin does not have the financing to be able to make those repairs needed. So we have to move forward. We're looking forward to finding a temporary space for DFACS to have a small presence in Griffin until a permanent building is determined. Just this week, we submitted space programming information for that small presence. It will be enough to provide drop-off of applications, picking up various forms that the customers need. And if they're unable to resolve any of their concerns through phone or through internet, it will be a small location for a customer to come in, meet with their counselors or whoever at DFACS, also bring in a child for a couple of hours until they are placed with a foster parent. So if we can achieve that in the interim of finding a permanent location, that will be great. It won't be the optimum space that DFACS needs at the time, but it'll be enough to provide some kind of presence for the county and for customers to not have to go out into other counties. So that process is in place. We've submitted all the paperwork for that. At the same time, we'll be submitting this week the paperwork for the permanent location. So it is in the works. Does take time. There is a process. More than likely for a permanent location, an RFP will be posted by the State Properties Commission. And that is a competitive process where you actually find someone who's willing to construct a building. Then you have to create a lease. Then you have to design the space. Then, of course, you have to build it, so it will take some time. So if you don't have any questions about that process, that's what I have for you.
I mean, anybody have any questions about the process?
Not the process, but I mean, I appreciate the update. Let us know where you are and how you're expeditiously trying to get this going, because, we need to get it for the community.
It sounds like some standard speed of government stuff to me, but we know how slow that gets. And it goes slower the higher you go, right? We've been working on the airport for how long now? And that's because we're having to deal with the FAA at the federal level. So you think the state's tough to work with. Whew. Wait till you get to the feds.
But if there's anything we can do to kind of help, I mean, as far as facilitate or whatever, just, let us know.
Thank you very much.
Now, Commissioner Flowers Taylor has been able to join us, I think.
Is she here? Is she on?
She's on mute.
Okay.
Okay. I know that she had some questions. Can we send her an unmute request? Okay. Sorry, y'all.
That's okay.
We'd love to all be here tonight. Two of us had to be elsewhere, unfortunately. Everybody else got to stay in their regular chairs. I'm the one that had to move out.
I do know with the temporary space, we're trying to place it where it's convenient to the customers to get to.
Oh, great.
A safe area. And, it's just going to be a small presence at 1,300 square feet or more.
Sure.
Just to be able to provide some kind of assistance to the public.
You guys are currently leasing the old police station, though, right? On
Yes.
Poplar Street?
Right now, we're just storing things there.
Why aren't you utilizing that more?
Because there's several things that have to happen before you can move into the space. One, a state fire marshal's inspection. There needs to be an environmental study done as well. We've already got the estimates for what it would cost to do the improvements, which, like I said, it was
That's the $3
$3 million or more.
But my question is, while you're waiting on those improvements and the $3 million, which, I mean, obviously doesn't fall out of the sky, can we not get the state fire marshal and our police were using it fine for years. I mean, I'm sure it needs some love. There was a reason they moved to a new building, but I don't know if it's like condemnable to the point that no one can use it whatsoever. I mean, for anything other than storage.
Yes. Now, it would have been good to some degree if when the police department moved out the majority of their folks, they moved out the reception window. So there were going to have to be some.
There's like actual physical like holes.
Yeah, it was a
about to say,
bullet
did not meet up to
resistant
code.
reception window.
Liability issues.
Okay.
And there just needed to be some modifications to even perform at the minimal there.
That could be a true hazard.
Yeah, I didn't know that the
Possibility
city
of
had
this.
left it. a bit scorched earth over there.
Yeah, if they had left that
realize
window, that would have helped out some. But
Sure.
the window was removed, therefore you had to repair that area. You got state fire marshals has to come out and do an
Sure.
inspection, and
Sure.
we knew it wouldn't pass inspection. There's many things that need to be done. There's some flooring that's questionable. It's very old. A lot of old school buildings, which it was
Which was what this,
before,
yeah.
do have some old issues, and it's
We
quite
just repaired one.
expensive
They're
to-
quite expensive.
yeah, expensive to do an abatement.
Sure.
So, anyway, we appreciated the city of Griffin working with us and getting us that far, just to see how much it would cost, but we do have to move on.
Is Commissioner Flowers Taylor still, is she?
Her phone is muted, and we're trying to get her to unmute her phone. It's not muted on our end.
Right.
It's muted on her end.
But it could be the signal.
Sorry, y'all. She's the one who wanted to question you guys, so we're.
While we're waiting on her, I'll just go ahead and kind of at least finish up until her questions arrive. Just to share, I know that I wanted to say thank you, first of all, for the support and the shared responsibility that the county commissioners accept on behalf of the constituents in Spalding County and our most vulnerable citizens, which are our children who are impacted by neglect, abuse, mental health issues, substance use issues. And I wanted to be certain that we all understood that the funding that the county commissioners afford us is utilized directly to support those children and those families, and also our families under the CPS umbrella, where we have grandparents, aunties, uncles, fictive kin, friends who come forward and become a resource for children so that they don't have to enter foster care. And we also utilize that to support them. We buy bedding when it's the middle of the night and we have babies coming into homes and we need to be able to provide a crib or some safe sleeping arrangements. There are times where we have to supplement child care for those families who get a call at 3 in the morning and say, we need you to step in for your family right now. So I just want to express my thanks for that support on behalf of our children and the families that we serve directly.
Is she on there?
Was she able to unmute?
She just called. We're working on
Wait,
it.
if there's any questions she has, you may want to take it up with them.
Well,
Individually.
We just told her if she couldn't get on
Yeah.
via Zoom, she's just gonna call and put her on
Stephanie can
speakerphone.
unmute, but for some reason Gwen won't unmute.
Sorry, y'all.
Hey, CC, got to start off audio. Hey, are you ready for your question? Ms. Gwynn, they can hear you if you'd like to go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I would like to thank the ladies from DFAC for coming to our meeting tonight. I appreciate it. I apologize for the technology glitch, but I have some real concerns because it sounded like what I was hearing was that there was this thought process that it was Spalding County's or the city of Griffin's fault that DFAC did not have a building. And if I remember correctly, that building worked fine until COVID. And it was down the entirety of COVID. And it just hasn't come back up. And whoever the properties management organization is, have been the least best individuals that we have been able to deal with, because we could not come up with anything that would please them in terms of the building. And I understand there's been the same problem with the city of Griffin. This whole meeting came about because I've been on the board 20 years and we've been giving these funds, this $30,000 or whatever, to DFACs annually. And nobody really knows where that started and how that arrangement came about. I don't have a problem with the money being used for foster. But what I do have a problem with, it appears that the young lady who spoke two people back was speaking about how there will be a minimal presence in Spalding County. No one has for DFAC services. No one has defined what that is. Clearly enough, we had, for the last 50 years, we've had enough people in this community that it warranted having a service here in this community and an office in this community. Our demographics have not changed very much at all. So I'm not sure who the determining groups are who have determined that that our population no longer requires adequate space for the number of DFAC clients we have within the county. So consequently, our poor population, who most of our demographic people don't drive, have to get a ride from somewhere else, have to go out of the county in order to receive these basic services. That is not acceptable. It is not fair. It's not justified. And I have a real problem with whatever our relationship is with you guys. And if the answers that you guys gave us today is what we have to look forward to, then I think as a board of commissioners, we have to look at whether or not we want to appoint people to the board. Because the board is for people who live in Spalding County. And if you're not really functioning in Spalding County, how is that a benefit to the board or the citizenry here in Spalding County? So, first of all, understand that it is not the responsibility of Spalding County government to provide a place for state agencies, which is what the Family and Children Services says. And I just think that we need to be very, very mindful of the fact that we just don't assume that the state has our best interests at heart. I don't know if that means we need to call our local legislators, if we need to call our federal legislators, because obviously services that come from DFAC have a lot to do with federal money. But for me, this is not acceptable. It's the solution that you've offered, what you're promising to us, and you really haven't promised, and I'm speaking to the lady who was from the property board. You haven't promised us anything. You promised that maybe you'll find an adequate small building, and maybe you'll be able to find a permanent home for us. But we're going into 3.5 years where the clients here have not had a place to come to, and that includes foster children. That includes children who come out of parental care in emergency situations. I'm glad that the police department has helped. But the city of Griffin can share with you that it has not been the county or the city's fault that the properties division has not been able to have acquire a building in its community to service the clients in Spalding County. Thank you, Steve.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. So I can respond, and I will let Ms. Perriman respond regarding any concerns regarding the building itself and identifying another space for that. I will share some clarity around Ms. Flowers Taylor's her statement regarding when our building closed and COVID and why that building was shut down. The building itself was never shut down. The lobbies were shut down because of the pandemic. So usually pre-pandemic, customers would be able to enter our lobbies. They would come in, be able to take a number, and be able to receive in-person assistance there within the county office. Our lobbies would often be full. Everyone would sit there. We had chairs outlined, children. We had play tables and everything there. And we served openly to the public, and our lobbies were open.
No,
Am I?
no, it's not you. It's not you. It's our technical problems.
Okay, and our lobbies were open during the day from 9 to 5 p.m. At the time of the pandemic, I'll reiterate that we are a public service agency. We are charged with the safety of children. And so a lot of our employees, we're out in homes in the community, and we're constantly having that in-person interaction with families, with children. We have to at times remove children, take them into care, and meet their needs while we're awaiting foster care placement. Because of that, decisions were made that it would be safest not to have that open lobby, as I think a lot of agencies did, not having those doors open during that time. Work was still very much happening within that building. Whenever children came into care, that is where my team or I would go to keep those children safe while we awaited foster homes. We would be there, we would take food there for them. we would have those things in place. Our staff still came into that building. They were still coming into the building to process applications. They were doing all of those things there. The lobbies were just closed. And then in May of 2022 is when we officially vacated that building after receiving notice that we would vacate the building. I can't really speak to state properties and those wheels and how they turn, but that is what was happening here under the umbrella of child welfare and OFI. And I can let Ms. Perriman, if she can, answer for the building and where we're going with that now.
Well, I appreciate your questions. I understood that the county had a need for space, and that's why they took back that location. We've had that happen in several counties where they're out of space for their own staff. So when we were displaced, we identified the PD building as a potential location. It was ideal for DFACS in terms of their proximity to their customers. So in good faith, we work with the city of Griffin. There's several steps in the process before you can move people into a facility. Number one, you have to do a test fit to see how people and functions can operate in the building. We did that right off with the county. The county hired an architect to do the test fit. Once the test fit is done, then pricing is determined, and that pricing at some point turns into a dollar amount for a lease. Of course, the pricing for the things that need to be repaired in that building is $3+ million, of which the city of Griffin does not have the means to finance the improvements. Therefore, after going through that process, which does take some time, there's a lot of going back and forth on what can and cannot be done in a building. We did that, and we were quite grateful to work with the city of Griffin, but you know, if they can't obtain the financing, there's not a whole lot we can do about it. And we have, since COVID, across the state, offices are coming back to working into the office after working from home for a long period. But we also worked well working from home. So basically, Spalding DFACS went back in that same mode as if we were in the emergency COVID period. And they do provide services online and by phone. No, it is not ideal. But when you are displaced, you do have to figure out how you can have services performed until you find a permanent location. So that is what we're doing now. Of course, it's not being done at the speed that our commissioner, your commissioner, would like it to happen. But we'll have a minimal presence until we go through that process of obtaining a builder, doing the design, and building right with all the functions that are needed in a DFACS office. It is not like a regular office environment. You have functions that you don't necessarily see in a regular normal office, like children's rooms, visitation rooms with one-way viewing mirrors. Your reception area has to be secure. And our design is going to be more efficient than the previous location. It'll be a smaller location, but since you have the technology to be able to downsize and use the resources of the state wisely, we're going to do it, and we're going to make sure that the constituents of DFACS are serviced well in a safe environment for them as well as for the employees. And that's why the state fire marshal's inspection is so important, is because they don't just look for, you know, what's required for ADA. They look at fire safety. An older building may have older systems like the PD building. It's no fault of the city of Griffin, that things didn't work out. But we look forward to making it happen. It just does take time. Unfortunately, we don't create the inventory in Griffin. The inventory for office space is not large. Even to find the minimal presence in the right location for defects is not that easy, but we're going to make it work. And I'm sure the constituents will be happy when we finally do have that permanent location, but a nice location for defects for their customers and for their staff.
In the meantime, we're using the hub station, you said, in Butts County?
Yes,
How
hubs
many-
were created during COVID by DFACS, where we had many offices that were only open 1, 2, 3 days a week. So what it did was, instead of having all the offices open, they created the hub offices where constituents from various county could come and receive in-person services.
How you said that the Spalding County office was open the whole time during COVID? They were there every day?
Yes,
It wasn't partially closed at all, just the lobby?
The lobbies were closed for those safety reasons around COVID, but we functioned there. Now, we did work from home at times, but the building was open to us. So when there was support needed in processing applications, that was the building our staff would report to process those applications. They would go there and pull constituents' renewal forms and everything from those boxes, go inside the building and process them. When children came into care, that is where we took them. So we were in there working, we just could not open the lobby itself to the point that it was. There were even times where case managers, if there was an issue with a constituent who could not process through the online applications or could not get the support they needed in order to move through that, appointments would be made for that constituent to then come into the office, and we would have our case managers there ready to serve them. We would wear masks, ensure that they were 6 feet apart. So COVID, during that time, I just wanted to be clear, we were still utilizing that space to function. The lobbies weren't open, and I think that's what created some confusion there.
I've still got a little confusion, because you said it was open every day, but we would work from home some days, but we still had access to it. So
Yes.
it was open every day for your folks to access, but they weren't there every day. Only some of them were there at any given point.
Right, and the reason we would do that often was just the same way everyone else did, to ensure that we were not bringing any germs unnecessarily into the building. If we needed to be there, then we would be there, but it was no need to put anyone at risk every single day, but the building was open and for use. And our reception team would definitely be there to process applications, pull in applicants, renewal forms and everything.
So the reception team was there every day, though?
Yeah, the receptionists were there every day. There was a presence there every day.
How many hubs are there in the state?
Right now, our hub, so the state, the offices that are available, they're opening now. And so as of October 1st, they have specific hours and days associated with county class sizes. So the Butts County hub is for Spalding County, because right now we don't have a physical location to open. But they operated temporarily as those offices start to open, when they identified the hubs to open for in-person services, and now Butts still serves as a hub for us because we don't have a physical location here to open.
So let me try to translate what you just said. So everywhere else has a building that's open?
Not everywhere, and I'm not sure what, there are other counties in the state that are experiencing
That are using
some things.
another counties as a hub?
Exactly. And so right now, our hub is Butts County. But I want to reiterate that constituents can also go to Henry County for services, because OFI is statewide. And so they can go there for services as well. And the services they provide there in office are assistance with submitting documents, using the kiosk, or if someone has general questions. If there is an issue through processing online applications or anything, if they run into a barrier, then those are escalated up to leadership, who then schedules an appointment with that client to actually come in to meet with their specific case manager and process through that.
You said that earlier. You talked about, or the woman who was just up here from the state facilities. I know that Gwen wanted to say something. You said that the county needed space and took back the location. I think it was Gwen that had a question. Gwen, can you hear us now? Hopefully.
Yes.
Hey.
I think the county manager can verify for us that that is not how that happened. It was time to renew the lease, and there was.
We can hear you. No. Oh. Now you got a bad signal, Gwen.
Told us about that before. Oh, can you not hear me?
No.
Oh, you said
now?
last thing we heard was Steve can tell us how it actually happened. Would you like Steve to go through that? Or?
Right.
Steve?
Well, yes. As I was saying, this was an annual contract, and what it is that DFACS wanted for us was substantially more than what our contract had in the past. And the expense that they wanted us to incur, Steve can tell you about, is the reason why they chose not to go further with the contract. We didn't put them out. They chose to leave. And I love, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
I love how they're telling us how it's supposed to work, but I can guarantee you that at least 3 times over the past year, I've had to call our state legislators to get someone to call somebody back from DFACS. So while that might be how it was ideally supposed to work, in fact, that's not how it works. And I expect this explanation from staff. But what I would like for us is that we do need an intergovernmental agreement in order for to be paying out funds. But I'm not having a real warm and fuzzy feeling about us paying out funds and we're not really receiving services directly in our account.
Dr. Ledbetter, can you clarify what the issue was back then? What were they asking for, and what was the lease amounts and what so forth?
Yeah, there was some discrepancies between how much space was actually inside the lease and how much the rent was for the property. We did have many conversations with Mr. Hill from the state properties commission or department, and we were working through the challenges of clarifying the lease, and the state did not seem to want to work with us with regards to the lease, and the negotiations fell apart. The county did need space. That's why we were working through the challenges between the discrepancies of how much space was actually required by DFACS and how much space would be remaining
because the juvenile court also uses that building, right?
That is correct. The juvenile court utilizes that building. There was substantial amounts of office space in the building that were not being used by DFACS, because I did several walkthroughs. And we were looking to take a portion of the building back for both the tax commissioner and the tax assessor's office because they were expanding and needed the space. And we just could not come to terms with how much space DFACS physically needed for the facility.
Was there any other issues with like the lease amount or anything? I mean, because we as a government can't give away the local taxpayers money. Was there an issue there?
There were some challenges with how much money was coming in for that particular location. And that was where the discrepancy was. We had set aside through the lease a very specific amount of space, but the building was not occupied by the county, and the entire area was being basically used by DFACS without lease payment. So we were looking to utilize the portion that was not under lease for us, and that's where the negotiations actually fell apart.
So it wasn't us taking back anything that was leased to them.
It was a
They had
additional space.
expanded the use beyond what was actually leased to them and had been operating so for a while, and yet weren't paying for that. And so essentially, this government was giving another government a gratuity in free office space. And when we tried to correct that discrepancy, that's when things fell apart.
It was a challenge for us, yes, sir.
Which gave the appearance that we did not fulfill it, and so that lease was over.
That's correct.
In your discussions with the state facilities, were offers made to allow them to continue to use the entirety of that space? I mean,
The offer was not made to use the entirety of the space. The offer was actually used to understand exactly what the requirement was for DFACS, and we asked for the State Properties Division to provide us with just a diagram for how much space was actually used so that we could come to terms with the lease. And we were repeatedly told that the state would be able to provide us with that information, but it would take as long as 18 months or 2 years for us to obtain that. And we felt like that was an exorbitant amount of time. We weren't asking for an architectural design. We were just looking for a rough sketch for how much space was actually going to be used. And we could not obtain that information.
so we couldn't set a lease amount because they couldn't even tell us how much of the building they wanted?
That's correct.
Any other anyone else on the board?
No.
Gwen, you have any other comments, Gwen, before we move on?
Well, I will say this, we've been tenant at will at the location since June of 2019. So that's been quite a while. And I believe we found out about the county needing some of the space through the DFACS office. And I'm only getting secondhand information because the State Properties Commission is the entity that's responsible for all leasing for the state of Georgia. And so we are the liaison between DHS and the State Properties Commission. So we look for information from the State Properties Commission. They were to go in and, of course, determine if there was a way to divide the space so that DFACS could be secure in the area, and the county in the other. So I'm not privy to that communication because we don't negotiate leases. But I understand that it is true that you could not come to an agreement on what space would be available for DFACS and for the county. And to divide the space, though, there would also be required some construction to secure both ends. So I do know we were paying $7.70-something cents a square foot, which is low. When a lease is negotiated is to close to whatever the average market rent is in the area, and you really never got to that point. But I understand, too, negotiations broke down. Don't know for sure what the facts are, but the end result was that we're no longer a tenant there, and we're just trying to move from there. So we don't really need to harbor on while we're not there now. We need to know how to move forward in a way
So I would like to
that we can
propose,
serve those
excuse me, I would like kind of
constituents.
like to move this along, to propose maybe a work session with us in the city of Griffin, maybe, to kind of sit down and with them, and kind of see how we could discuss spacing.
I
Offer that
don't
up?
know if that's needed. I mean, I don't know how we could find them office space. That's not, I mean, it's a state agency. We wouldn't do that for the State Patrol or the Department of Transportation. If they came in and said, hey, we need space, we'd go, okay, buy some.
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't
Right.
know
Or at least to
how
work- at least to
that
work with
becomes
them.
Well,
our
are
issue,
we
what
off
we
the
had.
table?
Sorry, just a
Okay.
moment. We're just going to discuss this a little bit. If someone came in and said, hey, I want to reserve the first row, and we said, sure, and we'll even give it to you at this low, under market value, and then they took the first row and the second row,
Right.
and then we came back and went, hey, you're using the second row and you've only leased the first row.
Right.
I have an issue if they come in and then say, well, you took all of our stuff back. Now, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's not
Well,
what
I think at
happened.
the end of the
That's
day,
not at all how
I
you should
guess
characterize
What I'm saying
it.
is, at the end of the day, like Commissioner Flowers was saying, it's important that we actually have a facility.
No, I totally
So,
agree.
I'm just saying, probably maybe working with the city of Griffin, possibly, if they're willing to, just talking, to see what that would look like, since we know that's important here, in this community. I'm not saying as far as funding, I'm not getting all that right now, but to move this along, I think that we could probably make that work, maybe just a separate work session for us to work with them. Because at the end of the day, traveling 17 miles, whatever, outside, it's not beneficial to anybody. So I'm just trying to find out what would be a good solution at this point. So,
I mean, I don't know.
we can discuss that.
I
We'll
mean, what
discuss
kind of
that
actions
later.
it would
We'll discuss
take.
it. But it's a suggestion, so.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you for all the work that you do and have done for
Yes.
these little boys and little girls. We really appreciate the work that happens in our community. We hope that we can get a hub back here in the community one day.
Would I be able to just make one more statement, very brief?
Very briefly.
Very brief. I just wanted to reiterate that while I know we have these building issues going on, and I heard Commissioner Flowers Taylor's statement, the funding that the county affords us is for our children and our families. It's not their fault that we don't have a building
Sure.
here or any
Absolutely.
of those things, so I wanted to make that clear,
Absolutely.
because we don't want them to suffer any further for this
Correct.
issue. Okay,
Well
thank you
noted.
so much.
Thank you.
We're gonna have a presentation now from the dashboard by Spalding County Senior Center Nutrition Center Services. It's coming up, y'all.
Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to present the Senior Services Nutrition Program Dashboard. I'm Megan Quinlan, an Administrative Assistant for Leisure Services. The creation of this presentation and the collected data was a collaborative effort between Senior Services Manager Lauren Brown, Senior Services Assistant Manager DC Carter, Leisure Services Director Kelly Carmichael, and myself. Unfortunately, the entire team could not be present tonight. So, as you see, programs since 2015. Prior to 2015, senior nutrition programming was managed and operated by the Griffin Spalding Council on Aging. In 2015, they no longer had the capacity to operate it and asked Spalding County if we would take it on, or else it would be lost. Due to the essential nature of nutrition services, Spalding County made the decision to manage it through our senior center. Since August of 2015, this program has provided the basic needs of meals to the county's most vulnerable population, the homebound and senior adults who experience food insecurity. These services are critical to preserving life and health. Earlier this year, Kelly and Lauren attended an intensive multi-day training on financial sustainability. The content of this training set the pace for the Leisure Services Department goals for fiscal year 2024. We are evaluating the financial sustainability of our programs, and through this knowledge gained, we are taking measures towards using resources to deliver the greatest community impact. Empowering people to thrive is at the root of everything we do. Okay. So Leisure Services and the Senior Services team are passionate about quality service. We bring experience, professionalism, and a commitment to customer care each day. What we provide are among the most visible, direct, person-to-person services in the county. Lauren DC and Cindy Hudson, Food Service Correctional Officer from the CI, and Food Service Director Lieutenant Don Garvin, also from the CI, are the direct management team who have gone to great measures to implement the cost-saving initiatives that you will hear about tonight. And so now I pass it off to DC.
Good evening, Commissioners, County Manager, and staff. My name is DC Carter, and I do directly supervise the Senior Nutrition Program. Behind me here, you'll see my assistant, Senior Nutrition Assistant here, and also a Senior Nutrition Aide, and that is the bulk of our designated staffing. So when coming aboard in 2019, I had 3 objectives in mind for our Senior Nutrition Program. Number 1 was for our team to have exceptional customer service to our seniors and community as a whole while providing quality meal service. Number 2 was to make our program visible to increase community engagement and encourage more partnerships which prompted me to design our very first Meals on Wheels t-shirts and distribute them to volunteers and staff. Number 3 was to have long-term sustainability of our program through cost savings, increased revenues, and boosting volunteer participation. As Megan touched on earlier, nutrition services are essential, and through partnership with Three Rivers Area Agency on Aging, we provide a vital link to supportive and in-home and community-based services, as you see on the screen. Our Meals on Wheels program delivers nutritious meals to homebound individuals 260 service days a year, including holidays, and in fact, this year, our United Christian Fellowship Church has agreed to deliver a hot meal to our seniors on Christmas Day. As you see, we have had a 118% increase in service numbers in the past 8 years. 2016, we started with 69 participants, and now we are up to 150. Our Congregate Meals program is a non-income-based lunch program for our more active seniors who are members of our senior center. Now, because this is not an income-based program, many of our seniors are able to contribute to their meals, and that is the reason why we did implement a $2 minimum donation to offset the rising costs of raw food and material. As you see also, this program has had a 400% increase in enrollment within the last 8 years, and it is currently at full capacity. Senior nutrition is definitely more than just a meal delivery. We directly provide services to help seniors age gracefully and comfortably in their own homes, and we do that to prevent premature institutionalization. So right here is just a look at our 2024 budget. And on the left-hand side, you will see that there is a history of, there's an 8-year history of our budget, which has increased only by 30% within the last 8 years, which is really good. And on the right side, the flip side of that, you'll see that we've also had a 46% increase in revenue within that same time frame, which will take us right into this next slide here, which shows the breakdown of projected reimbursements and revenues. This shows factors leading into increased cost in operation. Well, one thing that this slide actually does not show is how our program has expanded in participation, which also contributes to operational cost increase. So here on this slide, I do want you to draw your attention to 3 of our largest saving bubbles. So you'll see here with the $20,000 bubble there, breakfast was not resumed. We did discontinue breakfast after COVID pretty much hit. We just decided to do away with it. It actually rendered no profit to the program, so it was better to just cease the breakfast at the time. And on the second one, you'll see that the $18,715, that is directly part of our our food service supervisor, Ms. Cindy Hudson, is solely monitors, and she ensures that we have the best deals on our menus as well as food swaps and different things like that, which has that savings there. And lastly, I do want to draw your attention to the $31,000 bubble, where annually we have that staffing savings simply by utilizing more volunteers for delivery service. This right here is a graph of our decrease in spending on fuel. With the highest peak being at 2019, we were spending nearly $4,000 in fuel costs, and it has dropped down to $1,327 for fiscal year 2023. This graph right here is showing, this shows our congregate revenue initiative. So as I said before, we have actually implemented a minimum donation of $2 for our congregate members, and it has rendered a 94% overall increase in annual donations in the last 8 years. Program sustainability. So on these next two slides, you'll see here how we are definitely much more than a meal service, and in fact, we have evolved to senior services through program initiatives. So some of the highlights on this one would be our Senior Community Services Employment Program, which actually employs a senior and is paid through our AAA. And then also, we have an increase of 300% community engagement with our volunteers, which actually reduces costs. Also, you'll see here our Quality of Life Rideshare program, and my favorite, the Anna Meals on Wheels. That was implemented because we did find out that our seniors were actually taking their meals because they love their pets so much and feeding them to their pets. And so we did implement the Anna Meals on Wheels, where we accept donations of pet food, and we distribute it out to our Meals on Wheels participants. So this slide here is also explaining that we are definitely an emergency response buffer to situations of crisis when we have had our tornado. Senior services, alongside with leisure services, really buffered to engage, acted quickly to make sure that we had a crisis center open. We offered shelter to people in need, and senior nutrition specifically spent over $5,000 in food costs that was unreturnable, just to make sure that we had people, fed, our emergency response teams and different things like that. So this right here is just a full snapshot of our desktop. You'll see the meals delivered last year, fiscal year 2020-23. You'll also see the meals that we provided to our congregate meals members there at the top line. And then below is a snapshot of everything I pretty much discussed in all of the slides. Does anybody have any questions about our desktop?
Thank you for providing the savings. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Much needed.
It really shows how much we've gone through each line of the budget to really see where we can save money and save money and
And
save
you were
money.
here one other time before sharing that. So we
Yes.
And remember,
Thank you.
in January, our plan is to have, instead of getting restaurant for our retreat, to actually have the Meals on Wheels
Right.
and have the Meals on Wheels food so that we can see. I mean, I know that
Right.
Commissioner Flowers Taylor was like, "Are these good meals? Are they?" I mean, there were some days, back in school where you had a good meal, and some days you went, "I'm not eating any of this."
And
she
that
was
is
worried about
exactly
that, so-
why we provided you with gift cards. So that bag right there is a gift card to our cafe. You can use it up until June 30th of 2024. You can come at your leisure. And also to accommodate Ms. Flowers, we wanted to make sure you come whenever you like. We are an exceptional program. We believe in the meals that we cook and we feed to our seniors every day. You come when you get ready. We're open Monday through Friday from 11 to 1.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank y'all for coming in. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right. Let's see what's next on the agenda. All right. Next up is Warden Carl Humphrey. We'll present the Spalding County Correctional Institution dashboard. Just so everyone knows, we're going through department by department and having everybody come in and tell us where they're at and see their dashboard, and this is going to be a regular feature from now on. So.
And how they're saving us money.
That's right. Warden, take it away.
Good evening. You can come visit me anytime, and I'll give you a free meal. I didn't bring you one in a bag, but I'll definitely have one when you come see us. All right?
And a free jumpsuit.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about the CI, and fortunately, we have a very good track record in what we do. Unfortunately, we probably don't do a real good job in telling the public what we do. And I hope this will kind of explain some of that and give you some numbers as to how it works. And my staff have been working on it extremely hard. We've actually been working on ours for like 6 years. So it takes a long time to tweak it and all the little situations that come up, work it out, figure it out so that we can put it on paper and look on the number on it. So I'll start out with our mission. We all know that we are a prison. We house inmates. We do that extremely well. I'll show you a few numbers on that. But our main focus is inmate labor, providing inmate labor to Spalding County. And that's not only working in the parks, cutting grass and alongside the road. We have construction and maintenance inmates. We have inmates working at the senior center. The platform that you sit on was built by inmates. So there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that we probably don't get the recognition for that we should. As far as the inmates are concerned, these are programs that are provided by our staff. Interesting thing here is we do all of this and it costs Spalding County absolutely nothing. It's done through volunteers. All of our programming on this side is done through volunteers. The Central Georgia Technical Colleges provide the certificates and the information we need to train the inmates, and we have programs set up for every one of these items listed here. Animal control or animal caretaker who is working at animal control, from mechanics to small engine repair, custodial. We have an excellent food service program, highway sign fabricator, laundry worker. We have barbers. All those things are provided through working with Central Georgia Technical College. We've had a lot of conversation about our workforce. Basically, we're talking here about the inmate workforce. We've downsized the number of inmates. We had a population, we averaged about 340, 350 inmates. We've dropped that down to just a little over 200. We had some mobile construction inmates who actually work for DOC. We were housing inmates for our contract details. We've downsized that. So this is just a comparison of what we had FY23 and where we're going in FY24. For the inmates working in Spalding County, we had 153 inmates on average working in Spalding County. This year is 150. And you ask why. Primarily that is based on vacancies. And I'll show you that in just a few minutes where those vacancies are popping up. The city of Griffin, with the contract details there, that's remained the same. Our contract details in Henry, Fayette, Upson, Thomaston, we now only have contracts with the city of, or the county of Henry. We've done away completely with the mobile construction inmates, and we have 45 inmates assigned to the inside, and we've reduced that to 41 inmates. And that's pretty much the ones that work in the kitchen, the ones that do our laundry, keep the building clean, does maintenance inside the building, those kinds of things. We also have a detail here, Spalding County Board of Education, that is pending. We're waiting on their vote. I think that's expected any day now to approve that contract. This is our dashboard for FY23, and I wanted this to be on one sheet of paper so that you can look at it and tell you pretty much everything we need to know in a glimpse, but I need to give you some definitions of how all this happened. Last year, our average man hours based on the possibility of the number of man hours was at 66%, and that is for all of our details combined. Now, what does that mean? When simply we look at an inmate goes out, he works 8 hours a day, that would be 8 hours. If we have a detail that has 4 inmates on it, that would be 32 hours for that one day. So we look at the total possible number of hours that all of our details in Spalding County could work for an entire year. It's somewhere around 300,000. But then when you go back and we look at holidays, sick leave, annual leave, and those kinds of things for the officer, remember the inmates have to have a bus driver. So if the bus driver doesn't go to work, then the kids don't go to school. So although there's one bus driver, he may have 50 on the bus, and that's 50 people that's not getting out to work. So that's basically how it works, and I'll show you where that waiver's here in just a few minutes. But overall, we have 66%. Now, I went back and looked and said it's impossible to have 100%. Everybody working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 365 days a year. That's not going to happen. So I calculated in the holidays, I calculated in sick leave and annual leave based on someone who has been here 5 years or less, okay? And we should be around 80%. That's where the green mark starts here. As long as we're in 80% or better, then we're getting pretty much the maximum we can get out of that particular detail or that particular inmate, okay? So if you'll notice this, we had 66% total. Last year, our programming, we completed 150%, 56% of our goal of 150. So I think we had like 205, 210, somewhere along there in completions. This was based on an inmate population of 337, that's the average, and the average number of staff was 70. Compare those numbers to this year, this is the last 3 months. July, August, and September. And you notice that number's up significantly. Well, that number only increased over the last 4.5, 5 weeks. Basically what we did is we started sitting down with the department heads that were actually receiving the inmates and saying, look, these details are getting this number of hours, this number of details are getting this number of hours. And as they get this report, they get it daily as for the day before. So if a detail officer picks up his inmates at 7 o'clock in the morning, he turns them back in at 3 o'clock, he's getting 100% of the number of hours that he needs for that day. If he picks them up at 7 o'clock, turns them back in at 1 o'clock, then obviously he is missing 2 hours for that particular day. 2 hours with 4 inmates, that makes a big difference over time. So we started tracking those individual hours and the individual details on a daily basis. So now every department head that comes in and picks up inmates in the morning time will get a report of the day before of how many hours and how many inmates that they picked up compared to what they should have picked up, if that makes sense.
Not to interrupt, Warden, is there a way, since we're getting all this feedback from all these different departments that the inmates are tasked out to, is there a way to get feedback from those departments on how well they're doing in each one?
Yes, sir. That's what this right here is.
All right.
Okay. Basically, what we give to the department head is a breakdown of each individual detail. And this will show, like animal control, they had a possible, this is the time period for 3 months now. They had a possible 2,440 hours. They actually worked 2,243 hours, so 92% of the possible hours they worked. That's very, very good. And then if you'll look down, the annex and the courthouse details, we had 71%, 73%. We had one officer that was out with COVID for a couple weeks during that period, and we also had one officer that left us and left that position vacant, and it was not filled until last week. So that justifies or explains the reason we had a drop in hours there. Interesting thing with City Motor Pool, we actually do not provide a staff member for that. The city sends someone over, they pick that inmate up, he goes out and he works. So if they pick him up, he goes to work. If they don't, he doesn't go to work. And we do this for a breakdown for each one of our areas or contract details. This is our firefighters. They started in April, I believe it is, and they will have their graduation on November the 16th. Invite all of y'all to come to the graduation. But they're doing extremely well. So you see they're working more than 8 hours a day here, fairly consistently. These are the inmates that work at the senior center and the kitchen. We got 91% there, so we're in real good shape as that's concerned. Our construction maintenance, they're working at about 108%. Part of the reason on this is they do a lot of work on the weekends, working at the courthouse when issues come up and those kinds of things. So that puts them way over the the possible hours. Parks and Recs, this is where it gets real squirrely, pardon the French, but you see some areas here that are extremely low. They've had some vacancies in Parks and Recs and in Public Works. And basically what happens if that detail officer does not show up or is out for 2 or 3 weeks for sickness or filling in for somebody else or whatever it may be, they're not picking those inmates up. So that's where our discrepancy is coming in. We have seen an uptick. This was like 59%, I believe, for last year. So in the last 4 or 5 weeks, we've seen a 6% increase. Same way with Public Works. A couple of these that are real low, those positions have been vacated or that person is being pulled to pick up or go in other areas. So that's the reason those numbers are a little bit low. TJ can explain that a little better detail, but that's what's going on with most of these. The Water Authority, interesting thing here is they were at 63%, I believe, for FY 23, and just since we started sending the information to them, they have jumped to 79%. So that's a pretty good increase. This is what we call our prison ComStat report. This is on the security side of life, and zeros in this world is really, really good. The low numbers in this world is really, really good. So this just for general information, it covers things such as our population, the number of releases we had, the number of arrivals we had, number of assaults on inmates, the number of use of forces that we have, random drug tests, positive drug tests, those kinds of things. This is the same information. It covers the number of inmates we have on detail, the number of details that we have, and our programming. And this is the money part of it. Basically, for FY24, our budget was $6.5 million. We have a reimbursement for inmate phones, commissary, contract details of $676,000. The state per diem at 200 inmates is $1.8 million. So that's a gross cost of $4 million to the county. The workforce savings, and basically what we do is we attach a number per hour to each hour that the inmate works. Now, this is not based, the number you see there, the 2.3 million, is not based on them working 8 hours a day. That's based on what they're actually doing right now at this moment. Like I say, we check them out in the morning time, we check them back in the afternoon. We have a program that keeps up to the minute, literally up to the minute, the time they go out and the time that they come back in. So as we stand today, if we were to continue to go as we are now through the rest of the year, the savings would be $2.3 million. If we fill our vacant positions and we increase up to the 80% that we were talking about, the possible savings is $5.4 million annually. What are we doing well? We're saving taxpayers, as we stand right now, $2.3 million. We've initiated a firefighter program. We're looking to expand that the first of the year. We have a senior center program where our inmates are actually preparing the food that I was talking about earlier. The Parks and Recs maintenance, Public Works maintenance, we know what those inmates do on a daily basis. Interesting thing here is that the inmates make up 30% of Spalding County's workforce, county government workforce. Okay, that's pretty significant overall. But when you break it down to Public Works, break it down to Parks and Recs, where you have 20 Public Works officers, you got 60 inmates working there. So when you've got 10 to 15 Public Works officers, you've got 45 to 50 inmates working there. So that's the vast majority of those workforces in that particular area. What can we do better? We definitely have to work on an increase in productivity through the labor reports that we're sending to the department heads. We need to explore new areas to use our labor force. The fire department is part of that. We're also looking at doing some things with animal control. We've talked about it incorporating a transitional program, which the state would continue to pay us the $22 per day per inmate. But the transitional program would also require the inmate to pay $30 a day. They would actually go out in the community and work, come back, be housed at CI, and we're generating about $1 million per year if we have a 100-bed transitional center.
And the inmate would pay $30 a day?
Decrease the employee vacancies. That will, I'm sorry?
The transitional center, the inmate would pay $30 a day?
Correct.
All right.
But they're actually working, now they're going out and working in the community each day as well. Decrease our employee vacancies. Our labor production is directly related to our number of employees we have working. So every time we have a vacancy, that's costing us $32 a day in labor, or 32 hours per day in labor. We'll start monthly and quarter stakeholders meetings, and that's basically be with all of our department heads and their supervisors who actually are over the details so that they can see or discuss. We'll get out. And some of the complicated things about this, it looks real simple on the top, but you'd be surprised at how many times my detail would change from 3 inmates to 4 inmates or 2 inmates based on the truck I drive, based on the job that I do, based on where I'm going. All those kinds of things have factors. So we are constantly changing what we do as far as determining how many inmates are on that detail, what the final number will be, what the possible number will be. So that's a constant thing, almost daily. And another thing is one detail may need an electrician. We will have to pull that guy from somewhere else and put on this detail for a little while, and then we have to move him back over there. So there's just constant moving among the details. And with that, I'm done. Any questions?
Yes. Is there a way to, like I asked earlier, so we know how many hours they're working and for which departments, and is there a way to get feedback from that department on how well they're working? What?
Yes.
Sort of like what we ask of the public defenders to ask of their clients. How are we doing?
Yes, we do a quarterly assessment where the supervisor will fill out an evaluation on the inmate and turn that back into us. That is done so that the inmate can get what we call peak points, which works towards his release, cutting months off of every peak point he gets 1 month off of his TPM day.
Oh, nice. But is there a way, not just internally to assess, but for the people that they're working for, like Public Works, to also give them a score? So
That's
Public
correct.
Works, you know what I'm saying? Like,
That's correct.
They're the ones who score them? It's
That's-
not, I thought you said it was the supervisor that took them.
Whoever the inmate supervisor
Okay.
is will do the score for them. That's correct.
I got a question about the per diem. Is the $2 per diem you mentioned?
Yes.
We get from the state? Is that a fixed amount, or is there a cost of inflation that ever figures in there?
It is it is a fixed amount, and that gets complicated as well. The governor approved for that to be increased to $24 per day. We received a contract that said it was approved for $24. The day that we received the contract, they pulled the money, and it went back to $22. We are working to get that raised significantly. It's probably, in my opinion, $10 to $12 under what it should be.
Oh, yeah.
That
Oh,
would
yeah.
make a significant difference.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's good, but that would be really,
Yeah.
really good. So,
Yeah,
I'm sure you're working on it. so.
I've started meeting with some of the players in
Very
that to
good.
see what we can do.
Very good.
Anybody else have any questions?
No.
No? Gwen drop off, okay. Thank you, Warden. Thank you very
you.
much for coming. This is
Thank you.
really enlightening. Now, for the amended agenda, we have Public Works Dashboard presented by Public Works Director TJ Ember.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair and Commissioners. I know we're getting late, so I will be as brief as possible. This is broken down into 3 items here. We're actually presenting our solid waste dashboard. However, since we are training new skills to our staff, I wanted to review the workflow of how work is actually assigned and how we're creating our dashboards. And then we have some very good news at the end.
I'll take good news.
So our workflow begins with the questions or problems that are coming in. These could be potholes, they could be concerns in parks. The action items are coming from citizens or internal staff or the county. All of these action items are then funneled to the Public Services Office, and at that time, they'll take 3 directions. They'll either go to another department, they'll go directly to the officer, or they'll go to a supervisor for further assessment. This is the actual process when a call for service comes to us. First, we have the action item is identified from the citizen or other department. That need will actually be communicated then to our work order system, and we'll create a work order. Then from there, it goes to a supervisor for assignment. Then it goes into the field to actually be completed. Then our field staff will go ahead and complete the work order itself and the documentation that goes with that work order. We then are at the same time simultaneously collecting the raw data from the work order system. Then we analyze that data, and then we create the graphical images needed for the dashboard. And then we look at our conclusions, which in reality is, has the item been resolved? Has the process been approved, or can we improve the process, and can we find savings within that process? This is just an example of the work order that's done in the field by our staff. This is another example of how the work orders are funneled to the staff where they could see and review their work that's either needs to be completed or has completed. All the work orders then in our system go to being exported into raw data. That's what the raw data looks like. It goes into an Excel sheet. Then from there, we actually organized raw data so that it'll start to make some sense and we can present a dashboard. And then this is the dashboard itself. This is what our end product is. We'll be discussing this here in a second. This is our illegal trash dashboard.
You have your own grab just for tires?
Yes.
Wow.
So we actually have to pay to dispose the tires, plus our solid waste supervisor, Randy King, actually pays for that cost with grants that he receives from the EPD.
Oh, and you have it broken down in the area too. Wow.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
So now we're presenting you the illegal trash dashboard. So illegal trash is any trash that's on the roadway. That could be single pieces of trash. It could be large bags of trash. It could be bulky items like a refrigerator or a couch, or it could be miscellaneous trash that we measure by the ton. So this is our illegal trash dashboard. This can actually be manipulated on a daily basis by our staff. It's very interactive. You can see that we have color-coded each sector in the county. Currently, we have 4 sectors. And then what you're going to see is the total cost. We started this about 25 weeks ago. So this gives us the cost in each of the sectors. This here is, I can't see that well tonight, so I think that's bulky items.
Yep.
I think it is. So that's individual pieces of bulky items. And we do the same thing with tires, miscellaneous, and then the larger amounts. Let's see. So this is how we break down our dashboard. This is cumulative totals by sector. I went over those in the last slide, and it's color-coded by sector. We can draw conclusions from these cumulative totals because it's allowing us to know where these illegal trash is being disposed at. And then that allows us to continue making informed decisions so that we can be more efficient in our maintenance schedules. So this is the tires. So what you see here for each week, each color bar represents tires that were collected in that sector. We could see easily that we are having situations in certain sectors for that week. And this is all interactive as well. If you click on one of these items, you'll just see that sector on here, or you can combine them together.
Do we collect along like state highways, or does
We
the
do
state-
not collect on state highways, and there's some
That's
other
state.
items we don't collect. I'll share that here in a couple slides. So this is the tires per week. It gets converted into the raw data gets converted, and then we also available to the supervisor and to our staff is specifics of where each piece of trash came from, so that we can start developing information of what sectors, what neighborhoods, what have you. This is the overall 25 weeks that ended this week. This shows you the work order cost. Of course, each one is color coordinated, and it shows you what sector is coming from each week. This is total cost for picking up the trash on the side of the road. And then we can draw conclusions here in the amount of trash, the number of requests. Are we looking at multiple occasions in the same areas? There's a lot of information we can start deriving from that. All right, so our anticipated goals, now that we've been collecting data and we'll continue to do that, is utilizing a mapping system to create sector scheduling. So in our Asset Essentials programming, our officer that handles this can actually pull up the work orders by map. It'll automatically map it, and then they could go ahead and decide if they want to do a sector per day. And then that will help us determine hotspots, and we could take other action if needed, like surveillance cameras. Do we need to add additional monitoring? Would a neighborhood amnesty day for a particular neighborhood, would that be helpful in reducing costs in the future because we make it available to pick up trash?
Come
in
put it
one
on the
day?
truck this day, and we won't.
Right, like a Saturday or something like that. And then, of course, this makes us more aware so that we can work directly with code enforcement, so that we can look at those hotspots. How are we going to do this? Currently, we respond to work orders typically within 24 hours, especially when it comes to illegal trash. While the on-demand schedule is very responsive, it also can be very expensive because we're looking at fuel, we're looking at vehicle cost, we're looking at time cost. And then that will give us additional hotspot information, and then we can go ahead and set sector pickup days instead of doing it within 24 hours. We did get some questions that are frequently asked. Why do you see the same trash on the side of the road for several days in a row? These are some of the reasons. It may not have been reported. So a lot of times there is trash that just doesn't get reported to us. And of course, we have citizen request apps and our phone numbers there. It may be off the right-of-way. When it's off the right-of-way, we're not allowed to pick it up. There's a lot of trash throughout the county that appears to be on the right-of-way, but it's actually not. And you can see those piles of trash over and over again. And code enforcement is working through the legal system to handle those. We could have missed it. This is a very small percentage, but it does happen, and sometimes we do need to be reminded that we missed something. And then this will allow us to better utilize our sector schedules. I can't read tonight. Oh, fire hazards. I'm sorry. I'm not feeling well tonight, so I apologize. I'm a little under the weather. And sometimes the trash is biohazards. So we come across a lot of times trash bags that actually have decomposing animals in them. And then that becomes other situations for code enforcement, animal control, and we have to handle those systems completely different than just picking up the trash and throwing it away. And then one of the biggest things, and when you see on our dashboard that we don't have any trash being picked up that week, we just don't have the personnel. The personnel was not here, they were sick, they were on medical leave, or they were filling in somewhere else that was needed. And so what kind of trash do we not pick up? We've gone over these. Let's see now.
So let me ask you, TJ, while you're doing that, the
Yes.
Spalding app, I know that I think a little while back, you were rolling that out. I know it's doing very well. Is that being utilized more with this kind of thing?
What was it? Oh, the citizen
The app.
request app?
The app, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're seeing heavy increases in that. We do have a lot of citizens that are utilizing that. DeAndre does a great job in publicizing that. And then when we see citizens that are calling in, or we meet them on the road, and we make sure that they're aware of the app. I know today an email went out directly to a citizen who wasn't familiar with it. When we do that, we make sure they understand how to find it and how to put it on their phone.
Do you find that it's more app-driven than the phone calls? Or how would you place it, 50/50?
It's still not there.
Not
The
quite
phone
there.
call still,
Okay.
the phone call or calling y'all or the county manager or
Still
calling
there.
me direct or the sheriff or
Right.
Joseph, phone is still the way that a lot of it happens.
Okay.
And then, of course, Facebook. We try to monitor Facebook because a lot of folks just don't call in. They won't use the app, but they will put it on Facebook. Just a reminder of our workflow. You saw this last time. We're still utilizing this. This is how these dashboards are being created. These are the efficiencies are being made. And so this is the exciting part. We presented dashboards on our right-of-way mowing a couple months ago. One of these items is our side cutter mowing, and we're going to show you some information here. So this is the last 25 weeks. You're going to be able to see what it actually costs per mile to side cut. And then you're going to see here what our average for side cutting per mile is. You'll notice that we've had a high of $1,700 and we're averaging about $748. So if you take the 1,700, you go ahead and graph that, that's the red. And if you could look, that's what we would expect based on our highest element. The green is what we're actually at. So you can see that there is savings being made daily. And why is that? So our SVS system that we brought out, the safety, visibility, and sight distance, the new mowing that we're doing, the new mowing procedures, plus efficiency of that is bringing awareness to our staff. If we carry the awareness over, start adding our data, then what we get is savings. So we've reduced our cost per mile within the last 25 weeks by about 56%. And that's just one of the mowing crews, and I have several. There you go. Any questions?
Oh. Thank you.
Questions, commissioners?
All
TJ,
right.
thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for all your work.
Appreciate you.
Really
Thanks,
appreciate you. All right,
Good.
section 7, citizen comments. I'm going to read the rules here for citizen comments. Speakers must sign up prior to the meeting and provide their names, addresses, and the topic they wish to discuss. Speakers must direct your remarks to the board and not individual members or the audience. Personal disagreements with individual members or county employees are not a matter of public concern, and personal attacks will not be tolerated. The chairman has the right to limit your comments in the interest of disposing the county's business in an efficient and respectable manner. Speakers will be allotted 3 minutes to speak on their chosen topics as they relate to matters pertinent to the jurisdiction of the Board of Commissioners. No questions will be asked by any of the members during citizen comments. Outbursts from the audience will not be tolerated. Common courtesy and civility are expected at all times during the meeting. No speaker will be permitted to speak more than 3 minutes or more than once unless the board votes to suspend this rule. Dr. Ledbetter.
We have approximately 12 people who have signed up. Ms. Julie Walters for DFAX.
Oh, I think.
She's not here. I think
All right.
she was confused about that.
Thank you very much. Rhonda Andrew,
No, we've got a speaker. Thank you.
okay. So Van Andrew?
Same thing.
Thank you. Michael Middlebrooks?
Good evening. Michael Middlebrooks, 1108 Maple Drive. First, I'm going to shift gears a little bit based on the presentations that have been put out here because you know, the word transparency has been used a tremendous amount for the meetings that I've come. Honestly, this is the most transparency I've seen, and for that I applaud. Seeing the breakdown from the different departments and understanding that they're striving to try to cut cost, that's what leadership is. They're obviously doing a pretty good job from what I see, particularly the correctional facility. That was a phenomenal presentation. Transparency is very important. I think that everybody here is gonna agree that what they've seen tonight is totally different from what we've seen previously. And for that, again, I'm appreciative as a citizen. I know that the other people are gonna be appreciative as well. The other part, I guess the only side that I wanna cover that I'm really unhappy with, so I pulled up the Spalding County website literally before my name got called. I don't know who's working the website or if anybody actually does. But it still has the property tax increase hearing posted on the cover page for October the 2nd. There's nothing about an agenda, there's nothing about the presentations that are coming. There's just, the information is terrible. I think that a lot of things would improve with the citizens and their opinions of the county and the way the county's run if the information was readily available. The website's not real easy to navigate, but the fact, again, that October the 2nd's hearing is still the headline on the page, it's pretty bad. That's really, at this point, as much as I'm gonna address. I appreciate your time, but I do appreciate y'all requiring these, or whether you're doing it or whether the county leaders are doing it, we need to see more of it. The breakdowns, the transparencies, and make it public where people can do their own homework. You know, a lot of people are here, probably they've worked all day just like y'all. We don't necessarily, we can get that information, a lot of us off the internet, if it's there, but it's not. But I was glad to sit through it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Gus and Becky Powell. Okay. Maybe we can cut through the chase because I think everybody else is for Cecil Jackson. Does Cecil Jackson have one speaker? Yes. All right.
I think that's what we're hearing, right? Is you guys have one person that wants to come up and speak for it? Cool.
All right.
Awesome.
Please step forward and state your name and your address for the record, please.
Yes, my name's Rudy Mendez. I live at 60 Edgewater Drive, Griffin. I'm here to speak about the chip and seal that you are voting in for the Henley and Cecil Jackson Road and Weldon Road. I believe y'all have bundled it up, and I've spoken with Mr. Ledbetter about it. He has just enough in there that would take care of that. And I spoke with Mr. Clay Davis. I know that he's not here, in which I told him that's even more reason why I needed to speak with him about this, because I have went around and I spoke to all the people that use Cecil Jackson Road. The Henley Road is approximately 15 families and houses. And on Cecil Jackson Road, 27 families use it. It is very important. We have been waiting for quite some time We've been on a T-SPOS list. We went from, 5 or so up to 2, and that was like 2 or 3 years ago. Henley Road, it has had 6 houses on it, and in 2021, 2+ years, 9 more houses was put on it. We have been waiting a long time. So what I'm proposing is that I understand it's just a little bit enough to take care of these 3 roads. That you take care of Cecil Jackson and Weldon Road first, and then take care of Henley Road. Henley Road, from what I understand, is about $80,000 plus dollars. Where if you do that and you don't have quite enough to do Cecil Jackson and Weldon Road, there's going to be a lot of disappointed people. So that is what I'm asking. I've already sat down with Mr. Steve and spoke with him, and like I said, I talked with Clay and Mr. Davis, and Mr. Davis made it a point to speak with Steve about it before calling me back and telling me, please bring everybody that you have on that list and show up, even though there's 2 not here. And I also want to thank the parents who have stuck here with some babies. You notice how quiet they've been? That is hard. That is hard for those babies. And that's what I'm telling you. These people, it's important to them.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Very important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mendez, sorry.
Is that it?
Just
Thank you.
for clarification, Dr. Ledbetter, tonight in new business number 4, we've got the vote, and it just, on the minutes, just says seal Henley Road, but that's actually Henley, Weldon, and Cecil Jackson Road, right?
That is correct.
Okay, and the total budget is 290?
295, 741, I think, but
That's very
TJ is going to bring that to you here in just a few minutes.
Okay. Okay,
Yes, and I'm just asking if,
yeah,
yeah.
we're on board.
Thank you.
All right, was there anybody else that was signed up that didn't get to speak? I know that everybody just wanted the one speaker to go. We just wanted to make sure, because we skipped everybody.
I think I would. I'm a Cecil Jackson resident, but I didn't want to make a comment about it.
Yeah, if you're signed up, you get to speak, yeah.
If you would come forward, state your name and your address for the record, please.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Thomas H. Tatum. I live on 4 Edgewater Court. And real quick, just to back up what Buddy was saying, that, yeah, this is, that road takes a lot of abuse. There's a lot of people on there, but, it's the 21st century, and so you've got a lot of traffic, from buses to the people to, UPS and Amazon now going up and down that road. And, and the county is having a tough time just trying to keep up with it. But to reinforce it, I also just want to remind everyone, at the end of Cecil Jackson are 2 lakes. There's one, it's 1 or 2 acres over in the old camp, and then there's a 6-acre lake that I currently own right now. But it takes the brunt of that runoff. And then those are watershed lakes, which is good. We're going to expect water to go in there. But with that dirt road and that silt that goes in there, it fills the lakes up. But more importantly and more significantly, it puts in nutrients into those lakes, which causes the algae and all sorts of organisms and stuff going in there. And so I have to put in a lot of time and effort to try to keep that water healthy. And so I think the road really needs paved, but I think this option would help if you would be so good to do that for us, to make sure that it can help with that runoff. I know the water's gonna go, but hopefully if we can keep out a lot of that silt runoff into those two ponds, I think that would be very beneficial for us. So thank you very much for hearing me out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Was there anybody else that wanted to? There we go, sorry. All right, hearing nobody. Then we're gonna move on to Section 8 here, minutes. Consider the approval of the minutes from the Spalding County Board of Commissioners work session on September 8th, 2023. The Spalding County Board of Commissioners special called meeting, the public hearings, work session, extraordinary session, and executive session on September 18th, 2023. The Spalding County Board of Commissioners work session on September 28th, 2023. And the Spalding County Board of Commissioners work session, regular meeting, and executive session on October 2nd, 2023. Do you guys have a little while to look over those minutes?
Mm-hmm.
All right, do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
A motion
And I'll second.
and a second. All right, any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. All right, any opposed? 3-0. All right, going through the consent agenda. Just to remind y'all, I'm gonna read through all these. If we want to vote on them as a block, we can. That's normally how it works. If you want to pull something out, just make a motion to approve the things in the consent agenda that you want to. Let's see. Number 1, consider approval of a resolution authorizing the transmittal of a draft capital improvements element annual update report for 2023 to the Three Rivers Regional Commission for regional and state review. Number 2, consider request from the Spalding County Water and Sewage Facilities Authority to adopt the 2020-2040 Griffin Spalding Wastewater Management Plan. This plan was adopted by the Spalding County Water and Sewage Facilities Authority at their meeting on September 20th, 2023. Consider approval of the FY 2024 contract for fire protection services with the City of Orchard Hill. Are there any motions?
Motion to approve.
3?
All three.
All right, do I have a second?
And I'll second it I'd like to discuss number 3.
Okay, then let's
1 and
just.
2.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve 1 and 2 on the agenda.
Okay, and we got a second for that motion?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve numbers 1 and 2 on the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. All right, any opposed? 3-0. All right, now we're on number 3. We'll go ahead and deal with that right now. Is there a motion to approve 3 so we can have a separate discussion on it?
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Okay.
I'll second for
All
discussion.
right, we got a motion and a second. Now it's time for discussion.
Yeah, I just wanted this explained to him a little more. Who sets this percentage and how do we come up with that percentage on it?
So that percentage is set every year through the calculation of the amount of digest money that is implemented inside the city of Orchard Hill. And there's a calculation that's been run for probably 20 years that sets that millage rate. And then the county sends that bill to the city of Orchard Hill. And we've been following the same procedure forever.
Is the city of Orchard Hill in the fire district overlay, like the 2.63? Isn't that what it is?
Their millage rate is different for their fire district because it's inside the city, so they've got a higher millage rate for inside the city because of the commercial components that are inside Orchard Hill.
Okay. But they don't provide fire service. They
contract with the
contract with us, so we get essentially all of that millage, but it's a different millage rate because it's a different fire district.
That's correct.
Okay. And so that's how the amount is calculated, is whatever that generates. Okay.
And we'll be more than happy to present that to the Board of Commissioners so that you can see what the percentage is.
But effectively, whatever is collected by the city of Orchard Hills Fire District goes to us via contract for us to then spend on providing Orchard Hill fire coverage.
That's correct. I can tell you that last year it was a little bit less than what was expended simply because of the the responses that we had to perform inside of Orchard Hill. There were a couple of fires that actually took some businesses down, and it cost a little bit more, but not too much. So the percentage is just absolutely spot on for how we calculate those figures.
I want to bring up as well, last year we had a fire in Orchard Hill, in a house in Orchard Hill, that when the firemen arrived on the scene, it was pretty engulfed. Now firemen on the scene have to immediately make a decision. Am I going in this house or am I going to let it burn? Like, I mean, you know, it's life or death situations. There might be somebody inside, but if I go inside, there's definitely somebody inside that might die. And from the outside, the house looked like a normal house fire, like they always do. And the firemen there decided, you know, in that 10-second window when they first arrived, not to go in, and it saved their lives. And it's because that building, although looked like a normal building, was not up to our code in a very significant way. And so the temperature that was inside the building, because of the poor construction of the building, was actually almost double the temperature that their suits could have withstood. Had they gone in, they would have died. And there was no way to tell from the outside. It looked like, you know, they had vinyl siding on the building. It looked fine. You know, I mean, it wasn't up to our current code, but it wasn't just the aesthetics of the building. It was the way the building was. So when I'm up here harping on, we got to get this building code updated. We got to get this building up code. This isn't, you know, because I hate 2x4s. It's because there are literal heroes who are, had they said, no, we better go in and check, then we'd have had 2 dead firefighters. And like, that's how important this building code is. So again, I know I'm beating on a dead horse here, but like, it's very, very, very important to me. All right, so we've got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your hands. All right, all opposed, 3-0. All right, old business. Lift from the table and consider approval of the FY 2023 county budget for funding to be extended at the discretion of the Spalding County Department of Family and Children's Services Board of Directors in the amount of $35,654. Do I have a motion to lift?
Motion to lift.
All right, I have a motion to lift. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hands. All right, all opposed? All right, it is lifted. Let's talk about it. This is, we've already heard a little bit about it. We heard a little bit about it last time, and now we're hearing about it again. I think they've been able to answer all the questions, and unfortunately, I think Commissioner Flowers Taylor is disconnected.
I think she really wants the IGA.
So, okay, I mean,
I think she's.
she's back, okay. All right, Gwen?
Okay, thank you for giving me a chance to speak. When I talked with county manager about this, my concern was that this is an expense we've incurred every year. Clearly, whatever it is, book bags, underwear, that they were purchasing with this money for foster care has cost more than
Hold on,
whenever
Gwen.
this
We lost you for a
started
second.
20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Nobody seems to know.
Gwen,
Okay, so
you said, hold on,
I'm
Gwen,
saying
sorry, we
there's
lost you for a
no-
second. Oh, Gwen, can you hear me? We lost you for a
Can you
second.
hear
Can
me?
you were talking about whether it was expended for book bags and stuff. Can you go back to there?
Okay.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, my concern is that we don't have an IGA with them. We don't have a budget showing how much this is cost, how much it costs them every year. I would like to know what these, there needs to be some transparency in what we're actually spending this money for. And the request says for that money to be spent at their own discretion. And I certainly think that that money should only be spent for the use of foster care children and stuff that needs to be paid for.
Inside Spalding County, et cetera. I mean, Gwen, I think you've had a very good point. That I know that that's what we're being told, and that's what I'm sure that is where it is. But I hate to be the contract attorney in the room, but that's what intergovernmental agreements are for. I know, Gwen, that you can't vote tonight remotely, but what's our feeling? Can we fund this year with the understanding that next year it has an IGA or it doesn't get funded? Can we do that?
I mean, I think based on what we saw in the presentation, I think they have justified what the funding that we give them. I think the real issue comes with, the building, which, that's a whole different item.
Sure.
The 35,000, we know that stays in house here. So, and I think they proved that. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with it this year if we need an IGA. I think it's something that we need to do. Holding it back is only gonna hurt,
Yeah.
so, I mean, I'm in favor of going ahead and doing it now.
I agree, but can we
Go
work
ahead,
towards
Gwen.
IGA? Hey, pull the, just so she can make sure she
Gwen,
can hear
can you hear? You can go ahead, Gwen.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I really kind of don't agree with Commissioner Johnson because nothing I heard proves that they are spending that money for that. I understand there is a need for that, but everyone else that comes to us for money has to come and bring a budget showing where they're spending it. If you insist on wanting to approve it, then we actually go outside of the bounds of what we've done before. There needs to be an intergovernmental agreement. If you're going to approve it, you need to approve it with a stipulation that an agreement and a budget is presented to us.
Well,
I mean, I'm at the
once
board.
again, yeah, I agree with Gwen. This motion is for
do you
funding
want-
to be expended at the discretion of the Spalding. Now, it is of the Spalding County Family and Children's Services Board, so it's the board that is here local. But we need
We
to
need
know.
to go ahead and table then.
Do we need to retable, or
Can
do
we
we
do that?
want?
Or no?
How long to get an intergovernmental agreement?
Because we don't have commissioners here. I mean, we probably should have tabled this anyway, to be honest with you. We shouldn't have even lifted it. Because, I mean, we don't have the people here.
How long do you think it would take? Could you get this?
And it may not pass tonight anyway, so it doesn't sound like it is.
Could we get an intergovernmental agreement by next meeting?
By the 6th of November, most likely not. By the end of November, probably.
Well, is there a second meeting?
It took months to even try to negotiate an agreement with their facilities group. I can't imagine that we could have an intergovernmental agreement in 3 weeks.
Okay,
What's the will of the board?
right?
Well, it's been
Mr.
lifted.
Chairman.
We don't have a motion. Yes, Commissioner Flowers Taylor.
So if it will please anyone, I mean members on the board, maybe we change the language that says that this funds are to be spent at the discretion of the board on foster care service. Because they have senior care, they have all kinds of services that DFAC, I mean, that board is not just for foster care. They have other areas that they are concerned with. And so, for them to come and say to us, these children need it. Well, the old people need it. The young people on disability need it. But we need to know where it's being spent. So if they can word that some way so that that language is changed, that it is not spent at the discretion of the board, but spent at the discretion of the board for
She can stop now.
You're breaking up, Ms. Gwen.
Currently, the agreement
showing
reads
what their
that
request is.
Well, I guess it wouldn't necessarily be Kirsten. It would be Ms.
I
Portia.
mean, that's the
She's
same,
on-
we
she's the chair.
require that of everybody who comes and get money from us.
All right.
Oh,
Mr. Chairman,
Hold on.
currently the agreement reads that the discretion is with the county director to expend county funds based on her discretion for identified needs of family preservation and foster care families, as well as any other agency expenses per the county budget. So if I'm understanding Commissioner Flowers Taylor, she would like to delete as well as any other agency expenses per the county budget.
Okay,
That sound, Gwen, is that what you're?
that's what she's saying.
Gwen, is that what you're going for?
That sounds acceptable.
All right, Ms. Portia?
Yes.
You're on that board, right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
If you want to come up, because this is going to your board, so, so I don't want to hamstring you guys. I don't want this to, if we need to work this out in IGA and get into the specifics, we can. But it sounds like what's being asked for is really funding on foster care services inside Spalding County. And Commissioner Flowers Taylor really wants this to go specifically for foster care services inside Spalding County. And it sounds like your board wants this to go towards foster care services inside Spalding County, right?
And general assistance. Each year, budget is presented to the county commissioners. This one was for 24 proposed, and it's lined item of what is asked for, what this money is used for.
So what line items are these monies used for?
So on the budget request that we submit every year, we have all the line items identified, foster care, and then it outlines what goes under foster care, kinship, family incidentals. It outlines recreation, club fees, pictures for our kids.
But for the foster kids?
For the foster kids.
Let's do foster care services. Yeah, sure.
It's a longer list, right. And then we ask for a small amount for staff retention and support. So in multiple counties, county funds are used to supplement staff retention and support. And that's simply for a staff development meeting where you may provide some food services or something like that. A small amount was requested for that because we have to be able to try to compete with other counties and retain staff to service families in Spalding. All the other outlined items on the budget request, when we talk about family preservation services, we also had clothing for our foster kids, school supplies, fees, and then for family preservation services, we have general assistance also. And so a lot of times, like the Spalding Collaborative, they may refer families to us who are experiencing hardships such as utilities, or if we had a family who was put out of their home due to fire and they're looking for.
But that's not necessarily foster families. That's
right,
any
those
families.
aren't foster families because we
Emergencies.
have a whole other side.
Emergencies.
CPS, emergency service, family support, all of those are inclusive under that umbrella. So it's not just foster families that we service or foster children. That is the bulk of it, but constituents are able to reach out to us for general assistance. So, we have no issue with whatever information needs to be provided. This information is provided to our board. It says at our discretion because a lot of times those funds are for emergency use.
Sure.
However, we provide receipts associated to clients and case numbers. All of that is tracked through our board and regional accounting. So there's oversight of that, and we have to provide that information.
No one is trying to say that the things that, everything that you've listed tonight is not important. That's not what we're trying to say. I think, however, what the board is trying to fund is foster care services in Spalding County. So we're not trying to diminish the importance of the other things that y'all do, but I think what we're trying to fund here is foster care services in Spalding County. And certainly I definitely feel that from Commissioner Flowers Taylor. So I have some proposed language. Maybe you'll amend your motion. Same motion, except in the amount of $35,654 instead of at the discretion to be spent on foster care services inside Spalding County, and to report back to the board how and where it was spent. Again, you say you keep the receipts. We'd love to, be like, okay, this is what that money went to. I think that's important, not just for the board, but for the public and the taxpayers to know, hey, this is what we're, this money's not being spent on pizza parties. This money is going to.
Okay, so what we'll do here is, if Jim, do you want to rescind yours, I'll rescind mine. If you want to go ahead and just make your motion.
Okay.
I do want to share one thing though, because we also work to prevent children from coming into foster care, and those are those families who may be outsourced to their fictive kin who also need that financial support, especially up front, because we have to buy materials for them to be able to take those children into their homes. I'm not sure that the wording of that won't deny us the ability to support them, which will then result in children continuing to come into foster care because those families now can't receive that support, such as grandparents who are raising their grandchildren, or they're taking them in while families receive services, because we do provide funding for that as well under this umbrella.
Again, I want to make it clear that what our motion is, or what my motion's about to be, will in no way limit what the state can spend on helping those families. The state is certainly able to spend their money on helping those families. You guys have a gigantic budget. I mean, it's huge from the state. The amount that we kick in, this $35,654, however, should be spent in Spalding County and on foster care. And so, again, just to make it clear, those are excellent things that y'all's board does, that your organization does, but the amount that we're putting forward tonight is to help you guys offset some of the cost, to help you and your board with your responsibilities towards the citizens, specifically in the subcategory of foster care. Does that make sense? So you guys certainly can spend however much of the budget that you guys have, all the savings that you get for not having a building in Spalding County, that can all certainly be spent on any other programs that you guys would like to spend it on. And those are great to help, as you said earlier, those boys and girls here in Spalding County that need that help to prevent this kind of stuff from happening.
Absolutely.
But we're adding this additional money to your already very large budget specifically for foster care.
And I can appreciate the preventative measure that you're hitting on here, but I guess for the sake of the board, that we'll have to go ahead and make this motion for those reasons only.
And I think it's an excellent idea that we come back and get that intergovernmental agreement for next year,
Right.
so that if there's other specific things
'Cause we will know.
that we'd like to do, then we might could add. So I'm gonna go ahead and make.
So we're gonna, he has to rescind.
Oh, yeah.
You
I
rescind
thought
the
you already did.
No, we don't have a motion.
We don't have a motion.
We have a
on the
motion?
table.
I think we just had a motion to
Okay.
lift, so, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the FY '23 county budget for funding, 24, right, sorry. Change this on my note here. To fund the Spalding County Department of Family and Children's Services Board of Directors in the amount of $35,654 to be spent on foster care services inside Spalding County, and for that board to report back to the board on how and where that money was spent. Right? So then that gets completes the circle of reporting. That keeps it specifically on foster care, specifically in Spalding County, which was Commissioner Flowers
And then
Taylor's.
we'll have the budget that we want. that
And we'll
comes
have
back to us. I'll second that.
Okay. Any more discussion on where we're at? Okay. All in favor of my motion, raise your hands. All right, 3, all opposed? 3-0. Okay. All right, did y'all get the?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Number 11, new business. Consider a contract with McElroy Incorporated, the low bidder on the RFP substituted for the T-Splosh sidewalk project on Carver Road in the amount of $467,629.55. And that's a very specific RFP amount.
Yes.
Are they here?
McElroy is not here, but Mr. Brian Epson is.
Good evening.
How are y'all doing tonight?
Good. Hey, Brian.
We received 3 bids on the Carver sidewalk. And this is for the county's portion of the sidewalk along Carver Road. So it's about half between Poplar Street and 362. It's about half of that road that will be sidewalked.
And it's going on the east side, right? Like it's going on the side with the fire department and the church. And
It moves, it goes back and forth depending on where the crossing points need to be. So there's 2 crossings in there.
Okay. How much was allocated in the T-Splosh for this? Like, how much did we?
This is fully allocated in T-Splosh for the sidewalks. There are 3 roads that are listed: Carver, Spalding, and
North Hill.
And this is the first of those 3.
Any questions from the board? All right, do I hear a motion then?
We received 3 bids, and McElroy is the lowest
the
responsive
lowest?
bidder.
They do great work. Yeah. Wow, Peach State was a lot higher.
I'll make a motion that we consider the contract with McElroy Incorporated for the low bidder in the RFP submitted for the T-Splosh sidewalk project for Culver Road in the amount of $467,629.55.
We're considering, not awarding.
Awarding.
Consider
Do I need
award.
to change that?
Right, yeah.
I make a
we're-
motion
we're-
that we
we're
award
awarding.
McElroy the contract.
All right, there we go.
That's
Okay.
clarification.
And we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your hands. All right, 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and jump to number 4.
Can you make a motion to
Can-
amend the agenda?
All right, I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to move number 4, a new business, up to here to make that the new number 2, so that we can get some of these families with kids here.
I'll second that.
All right. Any other discussion, any discussion about it? All right, all in favor? All right, 3-0. All right. Consider request from the Spalding County Public Works Department to subcontract with McElroy to chip and seal Henley Road, Weldon Road, and Cecil Jackson Road for a total of 295.
Hold on.
Sorry to jump
I
around.
think that's the whole.
Had this lovely PowerPoint done.
295-407.
295-407. All right. TJ, which order are we doing these in?
We have 2 prices, one for Henley, and then the other is Cecil Jackson and Weldon as a grouping with Henley.
Okay.
Well, this came, Mr. Vice Chairman, this came about, as you're familiar, we started the chip and seal experimentation process about 1.5 years ago. We did 2 roads, which was Amelia Road and Yarborough Mill Road. We had a lot of challenges. Those were essentially based on subcontractor issues. The contract was with McElroy, however, he was not the actual one doing the work. We've gone through a lot of iterations in reference to those roads. We were able to get those completed a couple of months ago. Actually rode those roads today. I would say about 98% of it is exactly what we thought it was going to be. There is some minor issues that are related to potholes and that kind of thing. Our construction supervisor, Kevin King, is going to be implementing some plans to learn how to maintain those roads at the best of our ability.
Because they're different than like.
Because they are completely different. The process that we initially started with that was the 2-stone process, which was 2 layers. This process here that we're recommending to go with McElroy is actually 3 layers with 3 different size stone. McElroy has actually bought all of the equipment to do this in-house. So we would actually, he'll have full control. We'll have more control in reference to the project as well. Henley Road was chosen, as you know, this is very experimental. We have 82 miles of dirt road. So there is a lot of process here that will go on for several years. We're trying to figure out how best to do it. It's very similar to like Airport Road walking track. The first one that we did there, we actually did 14 different formulas. And then, of course, we learned from that, and now you have the current formula that's on there. Henley Road, to me, is a good example because it is a road that had very few houses on it. It's about 1,300 feet. And then within 2 years, 9 to 12 additional houses were built. So we took a road that had basically no traffic and immediately quadrupled the traffic. I think it's a good place to learn how we can stabilize a road of that nature. Cecil Jackson and Weldon are unique as well. It would be actually the first intersection that we actually tried, because Weldon Road goes between East McIntosh and Smoke, and then Cecil Jackson goes out to East McIntosh. That would be an intersection there. This would also include replacing a culvert that goes underneath that intersection that is dangerous when you make a turn off of Cecil Jackson. Cecil Jackson does have a tremendous amount of traffic probably more than you would expect, because it's actually feeding paved roads. So you go from paved to dirt to paved. And that is a really good example of something that we can learn from, and I'm really excited too to learn how this would work in an intersection. So that's where these proposals are originating from.
So this is still experimental, but it's worked so far? We're at 98% success?
I think it's 98%. I know that Commissioner Spalding will say that we did have our challenges.
It was rough, but it's good right now.
But I think that the overall product has been successful, and obviously.
But cheaper than the $1.5 million per mile to pave it, so.
Yeah, because right now, if we were to change a dirt road to pavement with the current cost, that's acquiring the right-of-way. Well, we wouldn't acquire right-of-way, but all of the utilities, the right-of-way, and the current GDOT standards, we'd be looking at about $4 million a mile. So, and this particular projects would come out of your road improvement line item fund that you all have been funding the last couple of years.
So it's clearly enough to cover all,
Excuse me?
basically. It's clearly enough to cover all three?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, ma'am. It was originally funded at 1.2 million this year, so this would be about a
Perfect.
third of that. I haven't dipped into it very much at all.
All right.
All right, what says the board? Do we have a motion?
So this is basically, this is a learning experience for us, because I know we're kind of, I don't want to set a precedence, because like you said, we got 82 miles. And I received several phone calls a week about wanting the same thing, Quail and Covington, and, but this is a learning experience for us, so it's experimental, and this, we're doing this to better ourselves.
Yes, sir. And there will also be Tier 2 money available in a couple of years, actually 3 to 4 years, that was designated by the voters for dirt road maintenance. So I'd like to be prepared when that money becomes available so that we could speak intelligently about the best processes.
And this helps us get there because we're.
This will definitely help.
Using it as an active experiment.
This will cover a lot of basis, covers a lot of basis with having a local contractor. He has invested the equipment. He did that several months ago, not even knowing that we would pursue this. And obviously, we have a good
So other
working
folks are
relationship with him, and he has a local reputation to maintain, and he'll be 100% in control. Of course, we'll be supervising, but he can control this product. And we've switched up the product a little bit to the 3 layers and 3 separate stone sizes. So would be anticipating positive results.
And if y'all got kids on that road, keep them off there with them four-wheelers and the
Yes.
Ranger, because it tears it up. I mean, you'd be just wasting your money.
Yeah. Yeah, chip and seal is not for that kind of tire. Yeah. All right, what's the will of the board?
I'll make the motion to approve.
All right, we got a motion?
Second.
Oh, we got a motion and a second to approve.
Do we need to include all three of, because they're not all three listed on here, I don't think on the agenda.
Yes.
Okay.
So your motion, if I heard you correct, was for Henley Road, Weldon Road, and Cecil Jackson.
All of the above, yes, sir.
I'll second that motion.
All right. All right. Having that motion duly seconded, is there any further discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your hands. All right, all opposed. There we go. 3-0. Hey, look, we hope it works. It's experimental. It's worked everywhere we tried it. Other people are trying it. It's working there. It's $4 million to, Yeah, I drove it the other day. Absolutely. I drove it just to see.
Number 2.
Then go home now.
All right, we're going to go on to number 2. If y'all could have your discussions out in the hall. Sorry. All right, discussion. This is the old number 2. Discuss the problems with Pineview Road and review the proposed grading exhibit provided by Paragon Engineering. Hey, y'all. Sorry if we're gonna try to keep working, y'all. Sorry, y'all. Thanks for coming. See, we only had this much turnout for every budget meeting and for every millage meeting. And for... All right, we're going to turn it over to Mr. Upson, who knows everything there is to know about this, and will give us a detailed description of it.
All right. We have been looking at Pineview Road. Sorry. We've been looking at Pineview Road, which is between McIntosh Road and Dobbins Mill Road. Now, a portion of Pineview Road is paved, but we're looking at the unpaved portion of that. If you've driven on it, you know that it peaks out a real sharp hill and comes down. So we've been trying to figure out how to design a road to make it safer, pave it. We had a rock investigation done. There was rock. That's why that knot is on the road. It's because whoever built the road found rock and left the knot of rock there. So we've come up with a plan to basically design this road for 35 miles an hour. But if you see on the screen, all the squiggly lines are contour lines that will create new grading in that area to drop this grade down. And it also impacts 4 driveways. So you see in blue the impact of the driveways as we would have to go back into the property, cut those driveways down, flatten them out so that it would not, the driveways would not be just dropping off on the new road surface. So, saying all that, in order to regrade the road, in order to regrade the driveways, we will have to lower a water line that goes through there. And we would create a true pavement section through there, which was 8 inches of base, 8 inches of rock, 3 inches of binder, and 1.5 inches of topping asphalt. So this would be a true road surface that we would create. That cost is $2.3 million to do that portion of the unpaved road. So another option we looked at was regrading the road and preparing the road base so that it could accept chip and seal. That cost was $560,000, of which
Ding, ding, ding.
410 was for the actual grading and rock removal.
Yes.
So what we're doing tonight is coming to you, and we're not trying to push this project forward. We're trying to give you as much information as we have so you can make a decision on how to proceed.
You know, I'm just asking, if you don't mind, TJ in particular. I mean, I think, of course, the pricing is phenomenal. We're not going to, no, but the chip and seal. I mean, I know that we're like you said, we're pushing this along pretty fast here, a lot. Is it something we should do right now? Or should we kind of pull back a little bit, or what?
Madam Commissioner, I don't believe there's any funding for this at this time.
Okay.
You contracted with Paragon last year to go ahead and complete this study, and these are the results of the study.
All right.
You had asked what it would cost to pave that road and then fix this deficiency. So there's no, it's my understanding there's no budget at this time for this
That's
project.
correct. There's no funding at this time. But as TJ noted just a few moments ago, there will be Tier 2 money from the T-Splosh that is designed specifically for dirt road improvements. And this is one of the areas that we believe that will be satisfied by that Tier 2 project.
So we're not doing it now.
Not doing it now.
But it'd be with the tier, possibly with the Tier 2 money.
That would be our recommendation. This is a feeder road. There's a lot of traffic that comes back and forth on this road, and I just want to give kudos to Brian Upson and his team for putting in a substantial amount of work on this particular road to understand where the rock is, how we need to take the rock out. They've engaged with a blasting company to understand exactly how much it's going to cost and what the takedown is going to be. And then kudos to TJ and the team for thinking this through with respect to a chip and seal project moving forward. Because the difference between a $2.3 million project and a $560,000 project is substantial. And one of the things that we would encourage the board to consider is, now that you've agreed to do Cecil Jackson with the intersection, and you've agreed to do Henley and Weldon, where you've got the culvert turns, that's going to give us a really good base of understanding for how this road is going to accept the chip and seal and how well we need to put the aggregate down. We may not need to put a 3-tier aggregate down. It may take 4 for this particular road because we may need to increase the amount of aggregate because of the amount of traffic that comes back and forth. But using those 3 roads as test beds for how we look at this is going to be substantial.
Commissioner Flowersteller? Gwen? Was that not her?
I don't know if it was her or Stephanie.
No, it was Gwen.
Hey,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, in addition to what you said, Steve, is that the repairing of this road has gone along with the last 2 comprehensive transportation plans that we have had in looking at traffic connectivity and crosstown connectivity. It will be huge for people to leave from Dobbins Mill Road and be able to go on 9th Street and get all the way to the end of 9th Street at the hospital, and even as far as out to the LCI, Tri-City overlay. So, yeah, we just need to remember that this is part of our transportation plan, trying to create a way so that all the traffic from the north side doesn't have to feed out North Hill Street. All of it doesn't have to go all the way up to Old Atlanta Road to get across town. We'll be creating an avenue for an outlet for traffic when we do decide to do something, if we decide to do something.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? All right, so there's no action required tonight, but this is coming down, and we really appreciate y'all.
And that's you may not know this, Steve, but as far as about when those tier 2, I guess, funding will come in, when will we know that, or when can we anticipate that, should I say?
We're actually looking at the numbers now.
Okay.
There is a possibility that we could put this on the books for early next year.
Okay, all right. Pretty soon.
Possibility.
All right, that's all I need to know.
All right.
Brian.
Thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
it.
Great
Thank
job.
Thanks.
Old number 3, under new business, consider request from the Land Bank Authority Board to replace Patsy Copeland for non-attendance and appoint replacement. Ms. Copeland was appointed to Land Bank Authority in October 2021, and her appointment is set to expire on December 31st, 2024. So essentially, we need somebody until the end of the year. I don't think we have anybody in the book.
We do not have anyone in the book.
So
Is there anything to do?
we could quickly, since she's not here, appoint Gwen to the board until the end of the year. No, but seriously, we have been deferring to Gwen to take point on all of our Land Bank Authority stuff. She's up there frantically unmuting herself, right?
Mr. Chairman, this is actually a citizen appointment,
Ah, okay.
County attorney.
and it is Pansy Copeland, not Patsy.
Oh, sorry.
So we would just ask if there's no one in the book that the commissioners think of someone that they could appoint rather quickly, and it is for the end of until December of next year.
Of next year.
24.
Okay. So
All right.
it's
Well,
going to take
Gwen,
some
you're
thought.
off the hook.
It's going to take some thought. So can we use
I have a
this?
question, Stephanie.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So I spoke with the chairman during the ACCG, and he asked me if I would serve on that board until the end of the year. I don't know that it's not a commission seat appointment, but yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure if it has to be a citizen or if I can serve temporarily to the end of the year.
I'm not sure if it has to be a citizen either. My assumption is that it is a citizen appointment, but it is until the end of next year, not the end of 23. It's till the end of 24.
So could we do it where we would have Gwen actually, if we can, have her sit on that board until January, until we do our appointments, And then in
She
January.
actually serves, she is actually serving now as your ex
Okay,
officio
so she can do both.
appointee to attend.
She can't do both. Okay,
Well,
so we'll just have to think about it.
She just doesn't have a vote currently, but she has been attending the meetings.
Where it says citizen.
So maybe we should
appointee.
table.
Yeah, I think we should take.
I think that's the best plan.
Right.
I think that we're also citizens. We don't stop being citizens. You know, sort
Yeah,
of
but
like this, the sheriff said last time I checked, the city's inside the county too. So
I don't think that we're gonna get away with that.
I'm just
Well, that's true. I'm just not sure that this is
I think
state
that's the
law
intention.
regulated, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure that the state law provides for commissioners to serve.
We want the right person sitting here, so it's gonna take some thought. So how about we table it?
and we've already kind of rubbed the city the wrong way. And if we start appointing commissioners, they might.
Right. All right.
All right. Then we have a motion to table. Then?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to table the request for the Land Bank Authority Board to replace Pansy Copeland for non-attendance for an appointment of replacement.
Pansy. Do I
Pansy.
have a second?
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion, a second at table. All in favor? All right. All opposed, 3-0. All right. We've already done number 4, so we'll go down to number 5. Consider selecting an aquatic center management company, Dr. Ledbetter.
And here we are again.
I
Yes,
know,
sir.
I know the one that I want. We've looked at
TJ.
this about 15 times.
Yes, sir, Vice Commissioner and Commissioners. Staff would stand behind the recommendation of United Pool Management of America.
Yep.
We would also add to that recommendation that we would look at opening the center March the 1st.
March.
And if I'm able to do the math correctly, that would be, what we would estimate as the possible net liability would be $350,000 for that time frame. That does not factor in what we negotiate with them. And as you discussed and requested at the last meeting, that 100% of the gate would actually go to them. So it appears that worst case scenario, based on estimates, would be $350,000 beginning March 1st through June 30th. But there's a lot of potential there to bring that number down, of course.
I know there was also talk of like a soft opening, like practice openings before it's open to the public. You know what I'm saying? I know that we're going to take receipt of the building in January. Is there? I'm sure you're going to have to talk with them about it. But
Substantial completion is December the 16th.
Nice.
So we will begin, because they will turn the keys over at substantial completion, and we will begin paying for all the utilities for that facility. Soft opening, should you make the decision this evening to move forward with the management contract with United, they would begin to prepare for a soft opening toward the end the end of January, the beginning of February, which would give us about 30 days of a soft opening for the community and for us to understand how this process is going to work.
Okay. Yeah, having I know
So
a lot of.
how many countries, how many counties actually have a grand opening in January anyway when it comes to aquatic centers?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
I'm just thinking. I mean, you may have seen more than I would
Right.
think.
The company is going to need several months to
Okay.
Probably some little country town
recruit
like Spalding County.
lifeguards and to put in staff and to get to know the facility. They have to
But
train on
it's
the
also an
facility.
indoor facility, so it's
That's
not.
true, but
So that's
still.
probably a 3-month period after
Okay.
we negotiate
All right.
with them. Even
And I know
better.
a lot of places. I mean, Six Flags and stuff that isn't open all year, but like they do sort of soft openings before to kind of train their folks up, and this is what it's going to look like when people are on the rides or splash around in the pool. So
How do you feel about that, TJ? Is that something
A-
that?
Absolutely. I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
And they're going to need to know how to learn to work the facility. So
Okay.
part of that training,
yeah.
Okay.
just like a restaurant opens, you're going to want to stress your staff to make sure that they can handle
Sure.
day to day. This will give them plenty of opportunity to do so.
They have
gonna
like a
become-
limited number of
For opening
people
day.
there, just like
Right.
hey,
Makes
They're
sense.
going to become an integral part of this community after we negotiate for several months before the opening, because they're going to need to understand the needs. They're going to need to recruit
Yep.
staff. There's a lot of work to be done.
Okay, as long as
All
you're okay
right.
with it, I'm good with it.
Then do I hear a motion?
Yep.
Oh. Commissioner Flowers there? It's okay if you don't.
Nope. I'm trying to think of the name of the company here.
It's United, what was it?
I can't get my mic together. Sorry. No, I don't have any comment. Thank you.
Can we turn?
United Pool Management.
United Pool Management
Of America.
of America.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I'll make a motion that we award the Aquatic Center Management Company to United Pool Management of America in the amount of approximately $350,000. Am I saying that right?
Is that how we need to do that, Stephanie?
I would suggest just making it as an award to that company. Our opportunity is to reduce that 350.
Okay, up to. How about up to? No? Okay.
You don't even have to do up to. You can just do it based on their response.
Well, that's.
But we all know.
So don't mention the 350. Okay, I make a motion to award United Pool Management of America Company, the management company for our aquatic center.
All right, we got a motion and
Second.
a second. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? 3-0.
But, worst case scenario, I know we're saying 350, but if they
Yeah.
come back higher, I'm just saying.
Then we're going back to the drawing board. But
That's correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's based on their response to your RFP.
Okay, thanks, Stephanie.
Okay, number 6, consider on first reading A 2306 ordinance to amend the general code of Spalding County and add Part 8, Chapter 5, post-construction stormwater management for new development and redevelopment.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. In order to maintain our MS4 permit, it is often necessary for us to update our ordinance to maintain compliance with our MS4 permit. So the purpose for this first reading is for you all to hopefully approve this amendment to add to our post-construction ordinance.
What does it do? What changes are actually being made?
This is to allow staff to continue to enforce development, redevelopment, and post-construction controls when involving stormwater erosion control measures with developers.
Just to add on, I didn't mean to interrupt, please forgive me. Just to add on, our ordinance did not afford us the opportunity to do any post-construction stormwater remediation. So this is actually raising the bar for us. This affords us the opportunity to go and do the inspections after construction is complete, and it gives us teeth inside of the ordinance to hold the developers accountable for what they said they were going to do and what they versus what they did. So the consultant Rebecca Lindsay was a
Engineering,
big part
yes.
of this increased ordinance requirement for us. I've read it a couple of times. It's actually a really good ordinance. She took a lot of leeway in raising the bar for us using Fayette County, City of Atlanta, which has just a fabulous stormwater program. But I was actually impressed with the amount of work that went into this ordinance.
And Dr. Ledbetter is correct. Having worked for previous jurisdictions where we just did the minimum, this is actually above and beyond the minimum in which, in what she's trying to get us to where she's trying to get us to go as a county. So I definitely recommend that you consider approving this first reading.
And Mr. Galloway has has reviewed and approved all the changes as well.
Yes.
Very good to know.
There's one more thing. I don't know if it's involved in this one or if we need to look at it as far as nuisance goes. Obviously, it's not necessarily a nuisance if water sheets off of your yard or your hill into your neighbor's yard. That's just how life works. But if you clear cut a yard and it's just mud now, and then mud is running into your neighbor's yard, I mean, it would be the same thing if you started a fire and smoke went in their yard, or you made too much noise and your noise was going in their yard. those are nuisances. I don't know, you know, if you're on one tract of land and you're, you know, you've clear cut or whatever, and there's all this mud that now runs into your neighbor's lake and kills all the fish in his lake, there should be a nuisance issue there, and I don't know if this would include that sort of.
Well, that is all
stormwater.
covered. When you're dealing with EPD, when it gets to the state and federal level, you're in big trouble. So this goes beyond county code enforcement. This goes to federal enforcement as well.
I bring that up just because, I mean, there's that exact situation is happening here in Spalding County in several places. And those particular folks have called me, and they've gone all the way up to the feds, and the feds go, yeah, that's a local issue.
It is a local issue, and if you notice, this particular ordinance is post-construction, so we're actually working backwards.
Right.
We are working very diligently to improve the land disturbance permit ordinance, which is a part of what you're discussing, where you have an individual who comes in and either grubs up their land and affords the opportunity to the water to run off in sheets and run into the lakes and do some damage, as we heard earlier. So
and
we
it's
are
not the water, it's the silt.
That's correct. We are working backwards, so please forgive us for that, but we wanted to get the teeth in
Sure.
at the end so that as we work backwards, we've got something that we can enforce as our developers are doing exactly what you're discussing.
I just want to make sure that we're getting there, because
We are.
Yes, we are.
That's a
Yes, we
thing
are.
that, you know, when people go, I stocked this lake for 20 years, now my fish are dead because
Yeah, sometimes it's easier to start at the end and work ourselves backwards so
No, no.
we can make sure we've got teeth in it as we're working the process.
ordinance without teeth is a waste of ink, so. All right, do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve first reading.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the first reading. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. 3-0. All right, moving on to number 7. Consider the approval of the 2023 capital improvements elements of the annual update.
Yes, this is an updated CIE report that has to go for review to the Department of Community Affairs to maintain our qualified local government status. And kudos to our kudos to our department heads and county staff for providing Dr. Ledbetter and I with the updates to the work program, and also to our finance department for providing updates to the financial report. All of that has been put together to come up with the CIE 2023 fiscal year 2023 CIE report, and hopefully with you all's approval, we would provide this information to Three Rivers Regional Commission for them to submit the report to DCA for review.
All right.
Motion to approve.
All right, we got a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your hands. 3-0. All right,
Thank you, Charles.
approved.
Thank you.
We're going to go into the reports before we go into the executive session. So number 12 is the report of the county manager.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I would like to share just a few things with you this evening in light of the time of the hour. So State Route 155, Heath and Lineback has received comments from Georgia DOT on the concept report last week. We are pushing forward, asking ARC, the Atlanta Regional Commission, to continue their funding. They indicated, they being Heath and Lineback, working with Paragon, indicated that there were some challenges to the report that needed to be addressed, and that's going to take some additional funding. More to come there. The Aquatic Center, thank you very much for voting that through this evening. Again, the substantial completion is expected December the 16th of this year. Heritage Park Gymnasium, staff plans on an update session with our community later this month. The bids did come back, and it's our intent to sit down with all of our stakeholders and just walk through that bid package so that we can understand exactly what's going on with that project. T-Splost, we're about 81% complete with resurfacing. The graph on the right-hand side of the screen shows that we're moving along fairly well. The substantial completion will occur within the next 10 days. I've heard some comments with respect to the striping on the road. That striping is temporary. It is just paint. And the thermoplasty will not be placed on the asphalt for about 45 days after it was placed on the ground, to allow the asphalt to cure and to make sure that it's ready for the acceptance of the thermoplasty. So hold on, that's going to get finished up before the end of the year. Resurfacing work, to continue with that conversation, West McIntosh Road will reopen tomorrow, and Macon Road is expected to open Wednesday evening. So those two roads are being resurfaced and work's being done there. The Flint River kayak launch at Blaylock Fire Station, we're still awaiting the EPD permitting, but that is actually moving along quite well. The permitting material was submitted last week with a 4 to 6 week turnaround time. So good news for that program, that project. That is an impact fee project, so that will be moving forward.
Good.
The Improving Neighborhood Outcomes and Disproportionately Impacted Communities Grant. This is the roughly $10 million that the state awarded us for both volunteer and for AMBUCS. Paragon is working that project for us, and the state approved the budget work last week for that project to move forward. So glad to report that. It's my understanding that Public Works and Parks and Recreation will be asking for a community involvement workshop on the AMBUCS Park here within the next month. So please pay attention to the notifications that come out of Parks and Rec, as we're going to ask for some input there and get your thoughts. The Senate Subcommittee for Local Option Sales Tax, those meetings continue. In fact, myself and Chairman Davis will be in Savannah tomorrow for the second of 5 meetings for that work that's going on. The firefighter graduation program in 2020, since COVID was impacting all of us, the firefighters that graduated from the program were not afforded the opportunity to participate in a ceremony. November 3rd will be the ceremony for our firefighters who have graduated 2020, 21, and 22. So we're going to have a large contingency of individuals who will participate in that program. Please come and be a part of that if you're able. Citizen Emergency Response Training CERT program, the graduation for that is next week. We're graduating our next class from that program. Our old animal shelter, we still have 11 animals that remain in the old shelter. So we're working the new one and the old one. That is a result of a very large case that occurred here in our community. So those animals are getting taken care of, and we are working very diligently to find them new homes. So if you're interested, please come participate in Adopt an Animal. CIE update, thanks to the community development team and to the whole staff for being a part of that. One of the things that we're using the 5-year short-term work plan for is to push forward in the Plan First community program offered through the Georgia Department of Community Affairs. That application is due in April, and it's our hope that we'll be able to take advantage of that. And finally, the Spalding County Water and Sewerage Facilities Authority, they are submitting a CDBG application in March, and they are in need of help in 3 areas within our community to do surveys, and you will see material come out from the Spalding County Water Authority here in the next few weeks asking for support and help. So that's all of my update, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Anything regarding the Halloween? Anything about Halloween?
Actually, that's a great question. I have not heard what the official date was for trick-or-treating.
Trick-or-treating, safety trick-or-treat, that's going to be the 31st.
Everything's going to be 31st.
All right.
Everything is.
October 31st.
To make sure there's no discrepancy like it was last year. Remember that?
Right.
City of Griffin.
The downtown trick-or-treating with the business trick-or-treating, that's the Thursday before, though.
Everything's, it's gonna be what?
That's,
October
that's the
the
Thursday, like the
26th
downtown
for
trick-or-treating.
downtown,
Glad you said
and
that.
October
It's
31st.
always the Thursday.
Okay.
All right.
All right,
Commissioner
quick,
Johnson.
real quick, dashboards, huge success. I'm glad that we actually got a citizen that actually appreciated that. You know, that maybe the more that, you know, we continue to do this and we use the word transparency a lot, you know, so, I mean, I think we need to kind of, you know, move toward that. I think we're off to something good here. That started in January, so we'll just kind of keep it going. And yeah, I guess, you know, with the website, I know we got a lot going on here, so we can kind of, you know, make that a priority. That's important when people do take the time to go there, to be able to find what it is they need. That's all I've got for tonight.
Commissioner
I'm
Feldman?
good tonight. I'm good, thank you.
All right. Commissioner Flowers Taylor, you still there? Is she on?
She's still there. But she's muted.
All right. Gwen, do you want to share anything with us? All right. We'll circle back to her if she comes back on. All right. I've got a few things here. First, I do want to point out that there's only 3 of us here, and I hope that the other 2 can return in safety from wherever they're at tonight. That said, I want to brag. Our dashboard tonight showed that the southeastern area of Spalding County, that'd be my district, has the lowest trash on the ground. Just we're not the problem. I just want to looking at you, Ryan, Clay. Okay, no. All right. That said, I stick with my idea of creating the bounty system. You know, if somebody wants to turn in somebody who's got trash, you want to set up your own trail camera. If you can show, you know, a trail camera with the tag of this is where the person threw the trash off, and go, hey, here it is. Here's your full case. Go cite this person. Like, you should be encouraged to do that monetarily. You know, we see a lot of the cameras going up to fight gangs and stuff, and there's a huge part of me that has a problem with the government coming out and you know, creating sort of this surveillance state, whereas on the other side, if, you know, citizens want to take pictures of their front yard and go, look, here's a video of a car dumping trash in my yard, they should be encouraged to do that, because that happens, and it's really disgusting. I know the magistrate court backs us up in that. We also heard tonight about the website. Like, our website is good, right? There's good, better, best. It's good, but it certainly could be better, and it's not as best as what it could be. We've got a really underutilized. I mean, it's good, but it's underutilized, and I think that we certainly could update that more often. Link to it in our social media more often, so that it's like, hey, really, this is where you should be going, because this is going to be updated all the time. I think that a lot of this transparency that we're seeing being reported, if there's a way to get that so that citizens could see those dashboards as they're being updated. Hey, did my report of this go in? Yep, there it is right there. You know, like, I think that would also wildly increase transparency. You know, making those dashboards not only active like they are now, but live. I'm really praying hard for our chip and seal projects. This is an excellent way to solve the problems, and yet not have to increase millage rate by 10 mils to cover all the. I mean, $4 million a mile now. Of course, there's a larger economic problem, but we won't go into those. We have the issues with animal control. What I'm being told, because I used to send people there to volunteer to do community service, and the judge and our Spalding County probation team, that's not the official name, they were giving 2-for-1 credit if you went there and did volunteer work there. And now people come back and go, oh yeah, they tell me that I can't volunteer there now, that they don't let me. I've been told by 6 different people who went out there and went, yeah, I can't do hours here. And there's been other updates to our SOPs that we've talked about not taking animals and this kind of stuff that have been like, like, wait a minute. So maybe we need to kind of revisit some of those. I know we've been busy with other, bigger projects, and so some of these sort of, second and third tier issues of the county get sort of left behind when you've got crazy foundational stuff that has to be taken care of, but we still want that dealt with. I already mentioned the water and mud runoff nuisance ordinance. That would really, really help. I love that we've where we've started. I tell people all the time, usually about addiction recovery, that you got to stop poking holes in the boat before you can fix the holes that are already there, and you got to fix the holes that are already there before you can bail it out, and you got to bail your boat out before you can start saving others. But just because you're not poking holes anymore and stopping these new developments from doing this, we still have these other steps we got to take care of. So, again, I'm bringing it up. Impact fees. I think we should have raised them all the way. Look at what we're doing with those impact fees. It's unfair to the current citizens that paid in all these years, and hey, it might slow growth, but I don't think it will. They're building as fast as they possibly can. We got 4,400 houses already slated to be built just in one quarter of the county. Come on, it's not gonna slow them down. At the same time, can we look at? I was on the downtown council meeting today, and I think Main Street's been talking about it as well. We use the Park at 6 all the time. Is there a way to get a bathroom put there? Take the one tree out or something.
I think they're working on their own now, I thought they were.
Well, that park's ours.
Yes. Yeah,
but
I
if
think
there's a way to
bathroom, I think they're working to build. I could be wrong.
if there's a way to put a bathroom there that whoever's using the park or renting the park can get a key to, it's not necessarily open all the time, but certainly wouldn't be open all the time. But it'd be open if there's an event there. There's events there at least once a month, and there's stuff that the city, the county, the Development Authority, Main Street puts on, the chamber puts on, and it's always like, oh, where are we going to do the bathrooms? They had some issues with our portable bathroom. The door's not closing on Saturday, and so they had to have people stand and help their friends keep the doors closed while people were using the potties in there because the doors weren't even shutting all the way. So I don't know, TJ's probably on top of it already, but just one more thing, right? I'm going to end on a high note, which is the Christmas parade. I know that it's not Christmas yet, but we got to start planning and getting involved, and I know that Spalding County and the Sheriff's Department and Public Works always has a really good turnout, but we need to start getting with the different groups that we're with, the different organizations, the different companies that would sponsor, the different entrepreneurs, local business owners that want to come in and and put a truck or a float or even a golf cart, local churches and stuff. The bigger the turnout, the better. Unfortunately, this year they're going to at the city's request they're going to start the parade again at 7 p.m. And so, last year my kids fell asleep halfway through it because it was so late at night. But
It's great, though.
it's a great parade, but my kids missed Santa at the end because they were already asleep because it was way past their bedtime. But yeah, it's a really great turnout, and I'm really excited for it. That is the end of the commissioner's report. We do have a request for an executive session. Would somebody like to motion for an executive session? You've got to actually.
Make a motion that we consider a request to conduct an executive session for discussion or deliberation and the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action or dismissal or periodic evaluation or rating of a county officer or employee as provided in OCGA 50-14-36.
That was a motion to go into. Right. Do I have a second?
I missed that part.
All right. We've got a motion and a second to go into executive session for the aforementioned reason. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, we're gonna be in there.
Fantastic. All in favor? Raise your hands. 3-0. All right. Thanks everybody for coming. All we're going to do when we come back out of this is adjourn this meeting. So.
You leaving, right? You leaving?
Yes, ma'am.
Night.
Good night.